It is a clear, crisp autumn day at Turner Field, Atlanta. And for the Atlanta Braves, they're hoping that coming home will be the tonic. They're down 2-0 to the Cardinals in this division series. They must win here. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller, and welcome to our telecast. Bobby Cox making a bold move today. And he, instead of going with his ace, Maddox, on 3 days rest, is going with Millwood. A very confident move. And he feels that going with Millwood gives his ace a chance to come back tomorrow. Millwood, of course, was outstanding last year. Down 1-0, pitching a one-hitter against the Houston Astros, turning that series around. So the Braves perhaps hoping that history will repeat itself with Millwood. With me is my partner, Buck Martinez. And Buck, for the Braves, not going with Maddox, you would think perhaps a risk taken by Bobby Cox.
Well, I don't think so, John. I think what Bobby Cox is saying to his team right now is, hey, I've got a lot of confidence in Kevin Millwood. We're going to have Millwood win either Game 3 or Game 4. So by using Millwood today, he changes the look that the Cardinals have had to deal with. In Games 1 and 2, they've handled finesse very effectively. Kevin Millwood is a power pitcher, so he's going to change their look. Also, the difference in this series so far has been in the first inning. The Cardinals have scored 9 runs in the first inning. Millwood has done a great job shutting down the offense in the first inning. Over his last 21 starts, he's allowed them to score just twice in the first inning. So he's going to want to put up a 0 and try to take the momentum away from the Cardinals.
All right. Now, we've seen from the Cardinals a lot of offense from Will Clark and Jim Edmonds, among others. But from the Braves, other than Brian Jordan, who's driven in 4 runs in 2 games, not much offense at all. The big guys need to turn it on.
Well, they sure do, John. And the big guys on this Braves ball club, Chipper Jones, the 3-hitter, and Andres Galarraga, the 4-hitter. Between them, they have combined to hit just 4 for 14 with 2 extra base hits and 1 RBI. Andres Galarraga in particular, he has 4 strikeouts in his 6 at-bats. The Braves need these 2 guys to step up and come up with key hits early in the ball game to give the Braves the opportunity to take the lead and gather some momentum and get back in this series.
The Braves in an unfamiliar spot in this division series, which they have dominated for 5 straight years. They must win today to keep it going, and then you must feel confident if they do, with Glavine and Maddox still to come. Mark McGwire, a homer as a pinch hitter on Thursday. Will he get in the game again? Perhaps. The Cardinals hoping to celebrate. Now it's the Braves' turn to get the home field, which seemed to mean so much to the Cardinals in St. Louis. And while the big crowd is already doing the tomahawk chop, there are also many empty seats up on the upper deck down the right field line. This is not a sellout, not even close, at Turner Field today. There's Tony La Russa in his 5th year as the Cardinals manager. And of course, they could not get past the Braves in 1996. Despite being ahead 3-1, and that's all too fresh in the memory of Tony La Russa. Here's his batting order. The Pepsi Cardinals lineup: Fernando Vina, second base. Edgar Renteria moves up for the 2nd spot at shortstop. Jim Edmonds, center field. Will Clark at first base, hitting cleanup. And Clark has just hit Millwood about as hard as one hitter could possibly hit one pitcher, and most of it this year. Ray Lankford in left field. Carlos Hernandez, the catcher. J.D. Drew hitting 7th in right field. Placido Polanco at 3rd base. And Garrett Stevenson, the pitcher, is batting 9th. And we are still awaiting the arrival of the Atlanta Braves on the field. Kevin Millwood is just coming out now to lead the Braves onto the field. Millwood, who apparently for superstitious reasons usually likes to come out of the clubhouse a little bit late. I guess if you want him to be out at a certain time, you should tell him you want him out 2 or 3 minutes before that.
You got to fool him a little bit, but you see his record for the season: 10-13 with a 4.66 ERA. And that was a disappointing season for him, but he's got a chance to erase all of those memories of a negative season by cranking up a good start here today for Atlanta. He is a power pitcher. The 168 strikeouts reflects that. And they're going to be very aware of Kevin Millwood in the first inning. Leo Mazzoni wants to make sure he doesn't get too big in his delivery and that his arm doesn't stretch too far behind his body. He's got to stay compact. He's got to utilize his power, but he can't generate power by getting his body involved. He wants him to lead with his hand. The first inning is very important for Atlanta to shut down the Cardinals and allow the offense to get them the lead.
All right, and with us today, is our friend Alvaro Martin. Alvaro.
Oh, John, the offensive game plan from the St. Louis Cardinals is very simple. Be aggressive and get that leadoff hitter on base. Now, that's no different than any other baseball team. That's what they want to do. The difference is that the Cardinals have executed. Of 16 offensive innings, they put the leadoff hitter on 10 times, and out of those 10 runners, 6 have come around to score. Now, they're going to be aggressive, even more aggressive than they've been against Glavine and Maddox. Hitting coach Mike Easler and leadoff hitter Fernando Viña told me, we expect a lot of fastballs from Kevin Millwood, expect a lot of first pitch swings and early pitch swings from the St. Louis Cardinals at the beginning of this game, gentlemen.
All right, Alvaro. Alvaro will be with us down at field level throughout the afternoon.
Defensively for the Braves, it's Sanders, Jones, and Jordan in the outfield, and Andrew Jones knows this ballpark better than anybody, and he is going to be an important player on defense because of the spacious territory out in the gaps. This is a big ballpark, and he knows he's got to cover a lot of ground. There's a lot of room behind him. He plays very shallow, but he has the ability to get a jump on the ball and track down those shots in the gaps.
If you hit it straight away, or especially out into right center, there's a lot of real estate out there. 390 to the power alley in right center at Turner Field. 61 degrees is the game time temperature. Fernando Viña stands in. And a first pitch strike from Kevin Millwood at a cool 93 miles an hour. And they did not see anything like that from either Maddox or Glavine in the first 2 games. Hold it down the line, deep into the corner. This one is gone. A home run for Fernando Viña leading off the game. And they have jumped out again from an amazingly unlikely source this time. Viña hit only 4 home runs in 487 at-bats in the regular year, and one of those was an inside-the-park home run in San Francisco.
Well, Viña was looking for fastballs, and he got it on the inside part of the plate, and he was able to keep it fair. You can see Lopez is set up outside. The pitch was inside. Millwood missed his spot very badly, and when he did that, he gave Viña an inside fastball, and he hammered it into right field.
Edgar Renteria with a swinging strike. So Alvaro Martin had made the point that in 16 previous innings, the leadoff man had reached 10 times. Make that 11 times now. And they have struck in the first inning again. A 6-run first Tuesday, a 3-run first Thursday, and 1 already here. Over in right center, Andrew Jones puts it in his pocket to retire Renteria. Here's the look at the composite line score and composite game totals. 10 runs in that very first inning. And the Cardinals, that was really their style all year long. They outscored their opponents by 57 runs in the first inning this year. A much greater first inning margin than any other team in the league.
Well, it's difficult for Atlanta now because they don't have an explosive type of offense that they've had in the past several seasons. They can't put up a whole bunch of crooked numbers.
Here's Jim Edmonds. He just had an extraordinary series. He takes a called strike. Talking to Tony La Russa before the game about some hitters like Bonds and Piazza in that Mets-Giants series, and many top hitters in these postseason games, how they don't do much hitting. And La Russa says that there are 2 things. He says a lot of it has to do with getting men on base in front of your big hitters so that they have to hit and so that you have to pitch to them, and having big sluggers behind them. So Edmonds has come up with a lot of men on base, and he's had a red-hot Will Clark hitting right behind him. And so La Russa said if a guy like Piazza, if you don't get men on base in front of him, you can throw him a whole day with either getting the ball over the plate to him. But Edmonds has seen a lot of pitches to hit in this series as he flies out here to the left fielder Sanders.
Well, he sure has, and then he has the protection of Will Clark batting behind him, so it's a double-edged sword. You deal with Edmonds, and then you also have to deal with Will Clark, but it doesn't make any difference if Edmonds goes to the plate with nobody on.
Now Will Clark. I mean, Edmonds has been so hot the first 2 games. It brings you back a little bit to Will Clark back in 1989 when he had the incredible league championship series against the Chicago Cubs while with the Giants. Fastball is high, 1 ball, no strikes. And of course, Mark Grace had a red-hot series. Grace that year had 3 hits in each of the first 2 games. Edgar Martinez in 1995. He had 3 hits in each of the first 2 games against the Yankees that year. And Edgar had just an incredible run in that whole series. Edgar had 2 more 3-hit games in that best of 5 with the Yankees in '95. 1-1 to Will Clark. Now, La Russa didn't think that the Braves were likely to pitch to Clark in this game today.
And the Braves are going to come right after him. The breaking ball that catches the inside corner. I asked Leo Mazzoni, I said, what did you tell Kevin Millwood about pitching to Will Clark? He said, I didn't tell him a thing. I don't want him thinking about it. I just told him to focus on each and every pitch. And it's important that Millwood doesn't allow a crooked number on the scoreboard. Get out of this inning with just a single run allowed.
Will Clark jumping in that fastball and ripping it foul down the right field line.
We showed you the great numbers Clark has in his head-to-head matchup with Millwood, and I asked Will, I said, what do you hit? He said, I've hit everything. He said, the only ball that stayed in the ballpark was a changeup away, but I've handled a fastball, I've handled a slider, and I've handled a curveball. So he has quite a wide variety of success against Kevin Millwood.
2-0, nobody on. 1 run in already for the Cardinals, and the Vigna homer. 1-2 to Will Clark. And he curves him for the strikeout. So he gets Edmonds and Clark, but it's Fernando Vigna who takes him deep. And again, the Cardinals make the play. The Braves play from behind. Turner Field, Atlanta, site of the 1996 Olympic Games, and they sort of reworked it after that great Olympics and turned it into Turner Field, home of the Braves, and the perennial home of postseason baseball. There's Bobby Cox. But rarely have the Braves been in this kind of a dire circumstance this early in the postseason. Here's Bobby Cox, Pepsi. Braves starting lineup for College short. Andrew Jones in center. Chipper Jones at third. And Chipper has hit fairly well against Stevenson. Galarraga at first. Javier Lopez the catcher. Brian Jordan in right. Reggie Sanders in left. Lockhart at second. Millwood the pitcher batting ninth. And on the mound for the Cardinals, 16-game winner, Garrett Stevenson. And he's ready to work now. 2-4 count. That's too low. Furcal is a guy they really need to start getting on base here.
Well, against Stevenson, who had a very good season, they need him to set the tone. He is but 1 hit in the series, and that came in his first at bat.
First pitch of the first game he hit for a single. His only hit, 1 for 9. But now it's 3-0, and this is the first postseason outing for Garrett Stevenson. He is 28 years of age. And it's a 4-pitch walk.
Now, Stevenson is a guy that relies an awful lot on his command and putting the ball in play, and that will bring the defense into the mix. Langford, Edmonds, and Drew, very good speed in the outfield, and Jim Edmonds, much like Andrew Jones, a Gold Glove center fielder. He, too, is a guy that can go back and really track down the balls in the gap. Great catch in Game 2 in St. Louis, going back towards center over his shoulder, and then as the ball slides away from him, he just reached out and made a great catch.
Andrew Jones now. First ball swinging. A high foul, and it's playable. Now that just shows a lot of inexperience, or perhaps feeling of some pressure or whatever. I mean, he just walked the guy in 4 pitches, and he swings not only at the first pitch, but he swung at a bad ball.
Boy, you're right about that, John, and that is a little impatience. And Anderson, or Stevenson, that is, had gone upstairs with the fastball, and Andrew just chases the high fastball, and he had a chance to get the count in his favor right there. And the Braves have to show a little more patience against Stevenson, because he hasn't shown you that he's going to throw strikes yet.
Now Chipper Jones. The Braves' big slugger again this year in the regular season, and he takes 2 low. I mean, so far Andrew Jones is now 1 for 6 in this series. Chipper's had 3 hits and 8 at bats, but they've been able to keep him in the ballpark, and his hits have not meant a whole lot. He did drive in a run in Game 2 in the first inning on Thursday. On the outside edge from Stevenson. 1 ball and 1 strike.
John, because Stevenson is such a command pitcher and a finesse guy that has to hit the corners, this is the first time that Hernandez has caught him all year long. So it might take them an inning or two to really get on the same page.
Carlos Hernandez, the catcher. And that's too low, 2-1. Stevenson, who had been in the Baltimore Orioles system, then traded to the Phillies in 1997. And his first major league start was against Tony La Russa's St. Louis Cardinals in 97 in August of that year. And he struck out 12 in that game. There goes Furcal, and Hernandez loses the ball. So it's a steal for Furcal.
Well, Hernandez has been good so far in this series. He threw out 2 base runners in game 1, and this time he saw that Furcal got a great jump at first base. Take a look at Furcal with his great jump, and Hernandez tries to rush the throw, and when he does that, he never got a grip on the ball coming out of his glove. Look how quickly he shifts his body to get in position to throw, but he never got a grip on the baseball and just flipped it out behind him.
3-1 the count now. Chipper Jones in the right field. Right there is Drew. Tagging is Furcal. He'll move over to third base. 2 down, and Andres Galarraga coming up. Alvaro Martin is downstairs.
John, yesterday Garrett Stevenson spent a couple of hours after the team bus left looking at video, and apparently, according to everybody in the pitching staff and the pitching coach, that's what's made the difference between a player that last year split time between AA, AAA, and the majors, and a 17-game winner this year.
Well, Stevenson, after he defeated the Braves here in Atlanta in late August, he beat them twice. Pitched well against them both times. Galarraga stands in, and that is too high for ball 1. He had a workout on Monday, played catch on Thursday. No problems. And La Russa said that because the Braves have not had any success against Stevenson, he figured Stevenson, well enough to pitch, is the guy. That's a called strike to the outside.
Take a look at the shortstop here, Renteria, and then the second baseman, Vina. How much of a gap they have left for Galarraga up the middle. And that outside pitch is one that he can drive right up the middle.
Inside, but too far in. 2-1 the count to Galarraga.
Stevenson won't overpower you with fastballs, and there are the numbers John had talked about in his 2 great starts against Atlanta. He won't touch 90 very often. He'll pitch at 87, 88 with his fastball.
Went to the curveball, and he bounces it right through that wide open space that Buck showed us. Coming in to score for Carl, a tying run, and it is 1-1.
Well, we talked about Chipper Jones and Galarraga needing to step up for this ball club offensively. For Cal with the steal, got himself into scoring position. And here's the shortstop, and here's the second baseman. A lot of room up the middle for Andres Galarraga. Stevenson comes with a curveball, and he hits the ground ball right up the middle, and he ties the ball game up with his first RBI of this series.
So Galarraga with a big smile on his face. He had not hit much before. That's a double play ball by. There's 2 down already. It could have been a double play though, if they needed to get 4 outs in the inning. They get the 1 at second, and that's all they needed. It's 1-1. We head to the second. Up right here and have several days before getting into the league championship series. That's a called strike to Ray Langford, but Tony La Russa has cautioned everyone in St. Louis not to celebrate prematurely. Langford, left-handed slugger. He got that inside pitch and tried to jerk it, but hits a high, soaring fly ball that lands in the crowd down the right field line. Ryan Jordan gave chase out there. I mean, Bobby Cox made a couple of comments, I think, yesterday, trying to invoke the memories of the 1996 NLCS between these same 2 clubs. When his team had the 3-game winning streak at the end after trailing 3 games to 1, he said, hey, it's the same situation. We're well capable of winning 3 in a row. That is strike 3 called with the big hook. and Langford is gone.
John, what Millwood has done with his curveball is he's backed off of it a little bit. He's not throwing it quite so hard. He struck out Will Clark with it in the first inning. And right here, look at the big break on the slow curveball, catches the outside corner. And it appears to me early in this game that Kevin Millwood is well in control of his motions. He's throwing a lot of strikes. He looks very relaxed. And as I mentioned before, this is an opportunity for him to erase the memories of a disappointing regular season.
Well, he had his baptism under fire last October, pitching that one-hitter in Game 2 against the Astros, and then getting the save in Game 3 at the Astrodome. That's a swing and a miss by Hernandez, and the count is 0-1. Millwood now has thrown 16 pitches in this game, 14 for strikes. 0-1 the count. Now, if he throws strikes like this all day long, he could be dominating again. That curveball down and away, 1-1.
Well, John, Leo Mazzoni was very concerned about the command of his strike zone, and he was concerned about Millwood's delivery getting long and trying to generate velocity with his body. But so far, Leo's got to be thrilled with the way Millwood has started.
This is Badley with a fastball too high. 2 balls, 1 strike. 1-1 the score. Second inning. Bright, sunshiny day in Atlanta. There's John Smoltz. That is a big difference. And they think that it was the absence of Smoltz that might have gotten into the mind of Millwood this year. Early on, a pop up to third, shading the eyes. Chipper Jones, but he gives way with a shortstop. And for Cowell, handles it.
Well, John, your point about John Smoltz is a good one. There you see his record in the postseason, 12-4 with a very good ERA. But when Smoltz went down, Kevin Millwood was put into the 3 spot in the rotation behind Maddox and Glavine. And without any prompting, Kevin Millwood kind of decided that he had to be a little better with his control and got away from his strength.
Here's J.D. Drew. Fastball up and away. And it's funny how little things like that can affect a ball player, because what's different? You're facing the same teams, the same hitters. The job is exactly the same. But it's the idea, I guess. Oh, no, you're not just the 4th guy now. You're filling in for Smoltz. And that apparently got into his head. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I got to be as good as John Smoltz. I better bring my game up a little bit.
And you see a difference in the 2 seasons.
And that's back to the screen.
But it's interesting, little things like that, and the player gets it in his head. Okay, I'm going to be like John Smoltz. I'm going to make better pitches with my command. And they forget that it took John Smoltz a number of seasons to get that command on the same quality of pitches.
Smoltz for many years was the enigmatic figure in that rotation. The best stuff of any of them is Drew takes strike 2. I mean, better than Maddox, Glavine, Avery, Nagel, name a guy. Smoltz had the better stuff, but rarely had a better record. But he harnessed it the last 3-4 years. And the breaking ball is just off the outside. 3-2.
That slow curveball, he tried to catch the outside corner with it.
Well, the fans are trying to rally to the aid of their Braves here today. Another curve, and he took it low. So J.D. Drew would not offer it, despite having 2 strikes at either one of those 2-strike curveballs, and he gets the walk.
We talk about his delivery, and the concern is the arm behind the body. Once he breaks his hands, does it get too long? And that's real good right there. When that front foot hits the ground, his arm is in a position right over the shoulder where he's driving toward his target. Leo Mazzoni has to be pleased with him to this point of the ball game.
Plácido Polanco now. Polanco, 3 hits, 7 at bats. All 3 of his hits were in Game 1, and he had the big hit really in Game 1 that turned that first inning into a 6-run inning. Fouls one off to the right, and the count is 0-1. Polanco getting starts in all 3 of the games rather than Fernando Tatis, who's been the Cardinals' regular third baseman the last 2 years. Tatis missed a good portion of this season with injury, and then finished the year in a terrible slump. So Polanco, who hit .316 in the regular year, got the call. The runner goes. Lopez bounces the throw in, and that cost him his chance to get it. Lockhart caught it on the bounce, then brought the glove back, and Drew was in there.
Drew had 17 steals during the regular season, and if this throw is all the way on the line, then Lockhart doesn't have to raise his glove, but it's short of second base. And watch how the bounce takes his glove away from the bag, and then he has to bring it down. He's got the glove there. He has to go up to take the short hop, and by the time he gets the glove back down on the bag, it's too late.
The third. Bobbled by Chipper. Juggles it again, and everybody's safe. So Chipper with a ground ball back here in Atlanta. The last game they played here was last Sunday, and the last ground ball that he faced, he did not feel then, and that cost him the home field advantage ultimately for this series.
Well, that had to be in his head, too, because that's a routine ground ball to third base. He got back on his heels a little bit, and even great players like Chipper Jones, once you get something in your mind, it's difficult to erase those negative thoughts. The error on Sunday, and then the error in the first inning in Game 1, and now a 2-out error.
Here is the pitcher, Garrett Stevenson. 0-1 the count. They, of course, would have liked to see Stevenson lead off the next inning. Ideally, Stevenson only 3 hits in 59 at-bats, an 0.51 average, but all 3 of his hits were doubles. 1 ball, 1 strike. Chipper Jones made 25 errors at third base, which is very poor. 2 men on, a walk to Drew, a steal, then the error. Polanco's at first, Drew's at third. Oh, man.
Wow. Pretty good pitch there, fastball, and Javi Lopez was ready to throw the ball back, and he hesitated because he was surprised that Ed Montague had called it a ball. But he was ready to flip the ball back to Millwood, and couldn't believe that wasn't a strike.
2-1 the count. 2 on, 2 out. And he pours it in there, and it's an easy-looking fly ball. Andrew Jones. And Jordan also there. It's Andrew. So the error does not cost them. 2 men left. It'll be Javier Lopez. Or rather, Brian Jordan will be leading it off. More baseball today. The Giants and Mets. Game 3, the first one at Shea Stadium. That's 4 o'clock Eastern on the Fox network. And then the Yankees hoping to clinch and move on with a win against the Athletics tonight at the big ballpark of the Bronx on NBC at 7:30 Eastern and 4:30 Pacific. And then it's all followed by SportsCenter at 11 Eastern time, 8 Pacific, with a complete roundup, reports from the different venues, the whole package, all the highlights, all of the key plays on SportsCenter after the Yankees Athletics game tonight from Yankee Stadium. Brian Jordan on a curveball in the air to right, and J.D. Drew standing out there in the sunshine. There it is. 1 away. 1 man gone, and Reggie Sanders coming up. 1-1 is the score. Garrett Stevenson went to spring training this year, and even though he had done well in 12 starts at the tail end of last year, going 6-3, he was ticketed for the bullpen. But he pitched so well in spring training that when they had the chance to get Jim Edmonds by trading their 18-game winner, Kent Bottenfield, they said, great, Stevenson's ready to replace him. So that, of course, in my opinion, really helped their season, getting Edmonds.
Well, it sure did, John. And Mike Matheny was giving Stevenson some encouragement in between innings. Matheny was his regular catcher for most of the season. As I mentioned, Carlos Hernandez, who was catching him today, didn't catch him at all during the regular season. Matheny is like an assistant coach on the bench.
Matheny's wife gave birth to a child yesterday, as did Cardinal pitcher, his wife, Pat Henkin's wife. Cardinal pitcher also gave birth to a child yesterday. These are exciting times to be a Cardinal, both on and off the field. 2-0 the count to Sanders. And that's a little bit low. Ball 3. Lockhart on deck. Stevenson was the National League Pitcher of the Month for May. And they say he pitched almost as well in the month of August. That was the month where he beat the Braves twice. But he misses DeSanders again here. Alvaro Martin standing by downstairs.
Well, Garrett Stevenson is a huge Mike Matheny fan, so much so that he said, at the end of games, we're in such a groove that I can't just shake his hand. I have to go out and hug him. And by the way, Mr. Henkin's wife, Darlene, gave birth to Madison, and both mother and daughter are doing quite fine.
All right. So Alvaro keeps up on the players and the social aspects.
The families and the children and the new children and all of that.
1 out, 1 on. 1-1 the score. Keith Lockhart the hitter. Down and away for ball 1. Stevenson won his first 8 of the year. Cardinals had not had a starting pitcher do that since Bob Gibson. But they were scoring a ton of runs for him early on. And they were concerned because he was not always pitching well when they were getting all of those big run totals. And Tony La Russa recalled that there was an early season conversation between not La Russa and Stevenson about that, but Eric Davis, that he just could not waste those opportunities. And it sort of clicked in for Stevenson at some point, and La Russa felt that having one of his peers, his teammate Eric Davis, talk to him about it, really helped it sort of settle in, and he went on and had a very big year for them.
Well, especially when you have a veteran like Eric Davis that has been around, and especially when a hitter comes to you and talks to you about it, really has a impact, really sinks in.
Got the call there, 2-1. Now, Stevenson, that was his 24th pitch, and only the 9th that he has thrown for a strike. He walked the leadoff man in the first inning for a call. That eventually became a run. Now he has walked Sanders. Now Sanders is a guy who can steal a base.
Good count to run.
And he's back to the bag here. The pitcher, Millwood, is on deck.
Now it is a good time to run. Bobby Cox knows that, and he can start the runner in. You got a hole to shoot for on the right side, and Lockhart is very good at pulling the ball.
He is not running. And the ball lunged at and pop foul and out of play. So the count now 2-2 to Lockhart. Sanders during the regular season stole 21 bases and only got thrown out 4 times. You know, he's been a very fine base stealer.
He'd love to be able to contribute to this offense. He is 0 for 8 in the series, and those 21 steals, testimony to his speed and his ability to get a good jump.
He has not run so far here. He leaned a little bit, and just as he did, Stevenson made a throw over there.
Yeah, he was thinking about it. He was trying to time Stevenson, and had he gone to the plate, he'd had a good jump right there.
And listen how quiet this crowd is.
It is very quiet.
I mean, contrast that to what we saw in St. Louis when the Cardinals were batting. What we were hearing last night at Yankee Stadium in that game. He's not running. That curve bounced foul up the first base side. So Lockhart really battling it out here with Stevenson. 2-2 the count.
Well, Bobby Cox, in his move to put Millwood out there, is saying to his team, you know what, Kevin Millwood's capable of winning a ball game, and then we'll be in pretty good shape with Maddox and Glavine coming back for Game 4 and Game 5 if it continues.
I mean, the way Bobby put it yesterday, it almost sounded like he thought they were right where they wanted to be.
That's managing.
I remember Lou Piniella said when he played with the Yankees have a big lead late in the season over the Orioles, and then Earl Weaver would talk about all the Orioles had to do was just gain 1 game a week, and they'd finish 3 games ahead of him. And Piniella said by the time he finished hearing what Earl had to say, he thought, oh my God, we're in trouble.
We're too far ahead.
And back to the bag again is Sanders. Well, I mean, really, it's almost the psychology of it that Bobby Cox was trying to stress. And we got Millwood. We're not panicking. We're not going with Maddox today. He'll be back on full rest tomorrow. Not might be, could be. He'll be back tomorrow on full rest. Then we got Glavine set up nicely for Game 5. We only have to win 3 in a row. Heck, we won 15 in a row early this year. We're well capable of winning 3 in a row. We did it against these Cardinals back in 1996 in the postseason. Well, the base, apparently there's a problem with the base. It might have come loose from its moorings. Wait a minute, that base is bugged.
Well, they're doing a little bit of work on it.
We're not messing with the microphone.
Trying to make some adjustments. Reggie must have seen maybe a wire out of there and say, hey, what's going on here? So Will Clark and Reggie said, hey, let's have a look at this base. Everything seems to be set now.
Well, sometimes you have a problem with a base like that. You call the ground crew. Here they called an audio engineer.
2-2
the count. It's almost like taking you backstage there, getting a look at the underside of the base. But apparently it's okay now. 2-2 the count to Lockhart. Millwood on deck, the pitcher. 1-1 the score, last of the second. And the crowd starting to show a little bit of life here. Big hole in the right side of the infield. Sanders not running. And the pop-up right at the mound. There's Polanco on the mound. So Lockhart falls to Stevenson after a long battle. Now they're going to go out and replace the bag over there. As Lockhart sits down.
Number 34, Kevin Millwood.
Sun is really bright here today in Atlanta, and look at Polanco waving his arms to let everybody know he's got it. He takes it right on the mound, and that sun could become a factor as this game goes along. Bright sunny day here, and the outfielders are going to have a problem.
Polanco back at third as Kevin Millwood takes the ball. Well, now because the pitcher's up with 2 down, I mean, you don't really expect Sanders to even take any kind of a risk in terms of base stealing here, do you?
No, not at all. You can see Stevenson doesn't think he's going to run either. He's not paying much attention to him, because if you do get thrown out at second base, then you've got to deal with Millwood leading off the next step.
Kevin Millwood, big guy. I mean, looks like he could hit, just standing there. But during the year, 7 hits in 59 at bats.
Looks are deceiving.
119 batting average. Only 2 RBIs. Big and strong looking, though. But apparently he's one of those guys, if you throw it right where he's swinging, he could be dangerous. Big rip at that one.
Had a good cut at that one.
Man.
Fouled it straight back.
2-2 the count. He's got to come back with a hook now. He can't throw another fastball right down the middle like that.
Well, he was right on it, but all he got was a line drive back to the screen.
That's the look from Carlos Hernandez. The way he saw it, he's wearing mask cam today. That is strike 3 called on the outside, and the inning is over. 1 man left. We go to the third. Top of the order. Vina, Renteria, and Edmonds coming up. It's 1-1. Fernando Vina led off the game. The second pitch he saw from Kevin Millwood, he hit out of the ballpark. Kind of a stunning moment there. Vina was not doing that very often during the regular season, that's for sure. Only the second time all year for the Cardinals to have a leadoff man hit one. Afterward, Mike Easler talked to him.
A guy has what he has. Can't change what he got. So you just sit hard and see the ball and just attack. They're not going to fool around with you. They don't want you to get on base.
Yeah, they're not going to fool around with it. Fernando very aggressive here, grounding out to the shortstop for Carl, and he is quickly retired.
Well, what Easler was telling Fernando Vina was, keep looking for the fastball. Millwood's going to challenge you to put it in play. On the home run, they were trying to go away with the fastball. They missed inside. Vina hit it out of the ballpark. So Mike Easler is saying they're not going to change. They don't want to fool around with you. You're going to still get fastballs.
Edgar Renteria, fastball in there for a strike. The last time the Cardinals got a leadoff home run, I mean leading off the game in a postseason game, was the 1968 World Series. Lou Brock hit a leadoff home run against the Detroit Tigers.
He was a pretty good leadoff hitter.
The name rings a bell.
He could run a little bit too.
Well, Vina back with his hitting guru, the man who was known as the Hitman when he played for the Pirates, Mike Easler. Slider, did he swing? No. First base umpire Dan Morrison on the appeal. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Renteria. He flied out to right center his first time. A very quiet crowd in Atlanta. In the dirt with a curveball. Now, it seems like some in this crowd have been trying to raise the level of intensity among the fans, but most of the fans have not joined in, and of course some fans aren't here.
Yeah, I think the loud fans have stayed home because those seats are all empty up there, but this is a city that has become so used to these postseason games.
And he just kind of serves it out there in the right center field. So Renteria, after battling off some tough pitches, ends up getting the hit against Millwood, and now the power comes up. Edmonds Clark and Langford, 3 lefties in a row.
Millwood left the slider up in the strike zone. 2-2 pitch. You can see that Renteria just goes with it, not trying to do a whole lot with it. It's on the outside part of the plate, right on the corner, but he serves it right over the second baseman's head into right field.
Renteria is aboard. Here is Jim Edmonds. The fastball. That kind of was delivered out of a cloud of smoke, wasn't it? Was that the puffball?
A little rising on baseball when he unloaded.
Edmonds flied out to left his first time. Edmonds with 6 hits in 10 at-bats thus far in this series. Renteria back at first. Renteria stole 21 bases in the regular season. That's too high. Getting the ball up here suddenly.
Well, all of a sudden, this is a little bit of the pattern that Millwood showed in the regular season. He's a different pitcher when he's got base runners on. There's a tendency to lose command of the strike zone.
That one is hit high in the air, deep into right center. Jordan is all the way back to the wall, and this one is gone into the Atlanta bullpen. He fell behind in the count, and Edmonds was all over it. 3-1 St. Louis. Edmonds' 7th hit of the series, his 2nd homer of the series.
Another high pitch, and Jim Edmonds hammered, and Kevin Millwood, with runners on this year, they're hitting .297 against him compared to .235 with nobody on. So he's not been able to really make his pitches when he's got guys on, and it's a fastball, and Edmonds takes care of it. Look at the difference in the swing from Edmonds right there. He used to be a front side hitter. Now he's sitting back on his backside.
Will Clark pops it up. At third base, shading the eyes of the glove. Chipper Jones, and he makes the catch. So Clark is quickly retired. He's 0 for 2.
Jim Edmonds with 42 home runs this year, and now 2 in the postseason. And take a look. The front side stays back, and then he delivers a powerful swing with the uppercut. A true home run hitter's swing. And it's something that he has developed here in St. Louis under the guidance of Mike Easler. He's really starting to learn how to hit.
So Jim Edmonds, who used to look at the Hall of Famer Rod Carew in Anaheim as his hitting guru. One ball, one strike. But Edmonds, who gave Carew a lot of the credit for success that he had at Anaheim, he said that Rod Carew was like a father figure to him. He said Chili Davis, his former teammate there, was like the older brother that he had never had. And he says they taught him not only a lot of things about the game, but about life in general. But he has raised his whole game up to another level since coming here to the Cardinals.
Well, John, you made the point about Jim Edmonds having great postseason, how so many star players don't perform well in the postseason. And once again, Edmonds comes to the plate with Renteria at first base and Will Clark behind him. So he gets a good fastball to hit, and he takes advantage of that.
And, you know, even all the way down here in Atlanta, when he hit that home run, I could almost hear people in front of their television sets in the St. Louis area chanting MVP. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think you heard it too.
And they have really gotten behind Jim Edmonds since he has joined this Cardinal Ball Club.
2-2 the count to Langford. Tried to curve him, missed badly with it. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Edmonds, who grew up just a few miles from Anaheim Stadium. And he was sort of a controversial figure for a long time in Anaheim. A lot of guys didn't like him. A lot of guys in his own clubhouse didn't like him. They thought he had a bad attitude. Slider got him looking on the inside corner, and Langford has struck out looking twice. But Jim Edmonds launching one out of the park. The Cardinals are ahead. Top of the order for the Braves. They're behind in the game and in the series. Cardinals lead 3-1 as we look over at where the old launching pad used to be, the old Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. Jim Edmonds, who has sort of resurrected his career in a big way, and he talked to us about playing in front of those great fans in St. Louis.
It's one of the most unbelievable feelings I've ever had, and I can't say it enough. I hope the people in St. Louis realize that I appreciate it, and I know what they're saying, and I want to just jump up and down and wave and scream, but I really can't, and I hope they understand that, and hopefully after the end of the season I'll be able to recognize the fact that how much I appreciate what they've done and how much they've kind of been a part of my life this year.
Well, and I suppose he already did indicate that as for Powell now, the count of 2-0 facing Stevenson. He did already kind of indicate how much he's enjoyed being in St. Louis by the fact that he signed a 6-year contract extension rather than going out on the open market. And who knows what kind of money he could have commanded on the open market the kind of year that he had.
Well, Mike McGuire told him, you're going to fall in love with this city, and McGuire felt the same way. He was not really that thrilled about going to St. Louis initially. That's McGuire. But then he fell in love with St. Louis.
In the left field, Langford goes back, battling the sun, stays with it, and Furcal is gone. There's Big Mac.
Number 25.
He just thrilled the crowd in St. Louis the other day. I mean, they love Edmonds. Will Clark has been a tremendous favorite, but nothing seems to compare for Cardinal fans to Big Mac going deep.
Now, and when he came back and hit that pinch hit home run against the Cubs, it was his first at bat since coming back from his injury, and he hit a pinch hit home run to win the ball game. It was a magical moment. He has a knack for coming up with magical moments. And Tony La Russa talks about him in the same vein as Joe Montana and Michael Jordan, those big-time clutch performers that can deliver in seemingly tough situations that nobody can deliver in, but McGuire can.
Andrew Jones, the hitter. He got a changeup on 2-0. 2-1 the count. Alvaro Martin is downstairs.
Well, John, Jim Edmonds told us yesterday that within a week of being in St. Louis, he was ready to sign the extension. Mark McGuire said, wait about a month. He did. He never changed his mind, went ahead and signed.
2-1 the count. So this man's won him over in the first week.
St. Louis has got a phenomenal history of baseball tradition.
Well, I tell you what, when you play, I mean, McGuire played in Oakland, and he played in some great teams in Oakland. And they drew some big crowds in some of those years. There's a hot rod in the home plate area, foul ground. Carlos Hernandez toward the on-deck circle. So Andrew Jones is fouled out twice in this game. 2 down, and here is Chipper Jones. 3-1. The Cardinals leading. But McGuire played in Oakland. Edmonds played in Anaheim. And you know, they drew pretty well in Anaheim as well. But the way the crowd responded to the players and the sort of the level of noise in those ballparks and the response to the players, it's entirely different in St. Louis. Chipper Jones loops one into the outfield for a base hit. So Chipper keeps the inning going, and now Andres Galarraga with a chance to tie the game.
Well, John, your point about Oakland and Anaheim is a good one because it's the West Coast, it's California, a little laid back, and St. Louis gives you an air of being an East Coast city. A lot of life. And here's Chipper Jones coming up with a base hit with 2 outs to keep the inning alive. An inside fastball catches the corner, and he fights it off and puts it in play, and now sets up Andres Galarraga.
Galarraga singled home a run his first time, his first RBI of the series. Into right center field, but there's Edmonds. And that ends the inning. 1 hit, 1 left. We're going to the 4th inning. The Braves are trailing in a game they must win. 3-1 St. Louis. Sunshiny day, a crisp autumnal day, however, in Atlanta. Game 3. For the Cardinals, they are up 2 games to nothing, but 3-1 is the score. The Cardinals leading this game. They're hoping to wrap it up today. Do not want to have to face Maddox tomorrow. Full rest. I mean, that really could be tempting fate as Hernandez takes strike 2. Hoping to prosper by beating Maddox twice consecutively. 0-2 the count. Maybe if they have to face Maddox tomorrow, Andrew Jones will catch all the fly balls hit in his way, and Chipper Jones will catch all the grounders. And if they played a little better against Maddox on Tuesday, it could have been a different result in that game.
Maddox didn't throw as bad as those 6 runs in the first inning might reflect. Neither Maddox nor Glavine are guys you want to face back to back, and Bobby Cox knows that if he can somehow get back in this game and scratch out a win second time around against Maddox and Glavine, these numbers would be different.
The second time in 203 instances where the two had pitched consecutively that they each got roughed up as badly as they did, both giving up more runs than they pitched innings. The only other time was at Coors Field in Denver, which the amazing thing is that it only happened the once. 2-2 the count. And that's a foul off to the right. I mean, Coors Field, crowd reacting. A fan who brought his glove jumped up and caught that ball. Yeah. Take a bow. He's the man.
They react more to that than they do to the Braves on the field.
Something happened that excited these people finally. Hung that one, and it's a pop foul back out of play. So Millwood still with a 2-2 count here to Carlos Hernandez, who is 0 for 1.
Well, John, your point about facing Maddox and Glavine again in this series is one that Tony La Russa is well aware of. He's going to play this game, in his own words, as if it were the 7th game of the World Series.
Going out, all out to win today. They'll hold nothing back. He said really every one of their pitchers other than Darryl Kyle is available to pitch in relief today of starting pitcher Garrett Stevenson. The shortstop for count. And then one away. Well, tonight on ESPN, it's a vital Southeast Conference East showdown as Quincy Carter and the 19th ranked Georgia Bulldogs play host to Philip Fulmer and the 21st ranked Tennessee Volunteers. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern on ESPN. Tennessee has won 9 straight against the Dogs. The Vols and the Bulldogs will be button heads, so Keith Jackson used to say. Could get down and dirty in those trenches. 0-1 the count to J.D. Drew, who walked his first time and stole a bag. 3-1, Millwood and the Braves are trailing the Cardinals here in the 4th inning. Millwood has lost a lot of his sharpness the last couple of innings. He started getting the ball up and really cost him against Edmonds. On a 2-0 count, Edmonds hit a high fastball for a homer in the 3rd. But he's getting his slider up above the belt here in this inning. He did a couple of times to Hernandez. And the high fastball misses. 2-1.
Well, even there, he got a little long in his delivery, and his front side opened up, and that left his arm behind. It was trailing, and the only thing that he could do is that fastball ran up and out of the zone.
If you were his catcher, would you have run out there to talk to him about it?
You've got to talk about getting back out in front with your hand, and don't rush your body and get it into your delivery. The best way to do it for a pitcher is to call a breaking ball, and that's what Javi Lopez did. He called the slider, but they missed with that inside.
3-1 to Drew, who's got a lot of power. He chases the high fastball, chased ball 4 actually, and fouled it away. 3-2.
The reason you call a breaking ball after a pitcher has thrown a ball up and away is because then it makes him finish out in front of his body, and that should get him back into a good delivery, and that's what he did right there with that last fastball.
3-2 the count. Another high fastball. He chased it again from shallow right field. Lockhart throws him out. 2 down. Well, Drew, just for some reason, just was intent on not walking in that at bat.
He's not had any success at all against Kevin Millwood. Just 2 hits in 11 at bats now.
Placido Polanco comes up as Drew heads back. Drew, who his favorite player, he was a kid, was Barry Bonds. And he said the reason was Bonds was left-handed, like himself, left-handed hitter with some power, who also ran well. And he wanted to be like Bonds. He wanted to hit for average. He wanted to steal bases, hit home runs, be a Gold Glover in the outfield. And they feel that he's got the abilities to be all of those things.
Johnny made dramatic strides this year, and after they went out and got Jim Edmonds, they didn't have to force J.D. Drew into center, and they could pick his spots much better and put him in situations where he could succeed.
Here's Polanco to shortstop for Cobb behind the back. Fires it over the fence. The big cat stretches out to bring it in. That is the first 3-up, 3-down inning Millwood has had. Javier Lopez, then Brian Jordan. 3-1 St. Louis leading Atlanta. There's the man who put this Cardinal club together, Walt Jocketty. Sometimes when a GM makes a lot of moves and brings in a lot of players from other organizations, especially big-time players like a Jim Edmonds, they don't always meld together immediately. We've seen that. I mean, Baltimore, L.A., it doesn't always just happen, but there seemed to be something with the chemistry with these particular guys, and it all worked together real well, especially after Will Clark arrived. Although they played real well up till that time, Will Clark filled a void in the lineup and also maybe helped out in the clubhouse.
Well, John, Walt Jocketty and Tony La Russa were together with the Oakland Athletics, and they understand the value of chemistry and character when you go out and try to improve your ball club.
Javier Lopez, the hitter, against Garrett Stevenson. He hit a ground ball into a four-side his first time, and he'll be followed by Brian Jordan and then Reggie Sanders. And the fans now trying to inspire the Braves. Check swing and a high fastball. 2-1. And Garrett Stevenson, we cannot really overlook the value that he has given to this club. Stepping in and replacing Bottenfield. I mean, Bottenfield did not have a very good year in Anaheim this year, nor once he went to Philadelphia. But he won 18. He was the Cardinals' best starting pitcher last year. And they sort of had him penciled in for a few wins again this year. Up the middle, base hit. So Lopez gets the leadoff single. And here is Brian Jordan. Jim Edmonds with a home run back in the third inning to put the Cardinals ahead with a man aboard. This is the home run. And then later on, Mike Easler, his hitting instructor, commented about it as Edmonds got back to the dugout.
You're mad you can hit. You can flat out hit. Bottom line. Boy can hit, can it?
Yes, he can hit, that's for sure. And Mike Easler has done a good job of putting these hitters into the right frame of mind for this postseason.
Here's Brian Jordan. Changeup from Stevenson, and it's 0-1. Jordan flied out to right his first time. I remember Easler was sort of a guru for Mo Vaughn.
Sure was.
Mo was in Boston, and Easler was the hitting instructor there.
Vaughn's style was very similar to that of Mike Easler's, and they really hit it off. When you talk to Mo Vaughn about Mike Easler, he said, look at what those guys have done over there in St. Louis. And he really has high regard for Mike Easler's ability as a hitting coach. He likes the high finish. He likes the ability to go out there and really extend through the hitting zone, stay behind the ball, and really use that backside to develop power.
1-1 to Jordan. Swing two on the outside. 1-2 bullpen activity for the Braves. Jordan is the sixth place hitter in the lineup. So Millwood would be due up in this inning if they could get a couple of men on base. So Mulholland, a left-hander, is up in the bullpen and will be ready if they want to pinch hit here, if they get that far. Comes inside with it. So you see Stevenson. I mean, he's throwing change-ups, fastball out, fastball in. There's Mulholland in the bullpen. Stevenson is not overpowering, but he won 16 games for them this year.
Now there's Merv Rutman, the Braves hitting coach.
Goes back in again, misses. Ball 3.
So that they're trying to come up with a game plan against Garrett Stevenson. And I'm sure that they're talking about getting better pitches, looking for fastballs away.
3-2 the count. There goes the runner. Struck him out. Hernandez's throw is there, and the inning suddenly turns in favor of the Cardinals. And Jordan could not make contact. And I'm wondering if maybe the fact that Lopez's run worked against Jordan.
Well, he has been so good in this series. It's a high fastball, a pitch he should have put into play. But with Lopez having catcher's speed, he's thrown out quite easily by Carlos Hernandez.
But you know, that pitch, had he taken it, I think they would have called it ball 4.
It looked like it was up out of the zone, and look how pumped up Hernandez is. He has thrown very well in this series.
He's thrown out 3 out of 4 who have attempted to steal against him. Here's Sanders now. You know, sometimes, I mean, the hitter's not obligated to swing in a 3-2 count with the runner going, but
right.
How often do they swing?
Just because they see that runner going, they have the mindset, oh, I got to protect the runner, but it was up. It was obviously ball 4, and they would have really had something going. And now strike him out, throw him out, and you've got Reggie Sanders hitting with 2 outs.
Well, apparently something is wrong with Garrett Stevenson. And Will Clark comes over to the mound, and Tony La Russa is heading out.
Well, look at Will Clark. He's very animated in his discussion with Stevenson, and maybe this elbow has flared up on him. It's the reason he missed the start back in September, was tendonitis in his elbow. It's a very concerned Tony La Russa out there, and he's making the move. Look at him, look down to the bullpen. He is going right to the bullpen, and Stevenson is going to leave this game.
Brad Henderson, the assistant trainer for the Cardinals, out there also with Stevenson. Ed Montague, the home plate umpire, and the whole Cardinals infield.
John, Will Clark came over from first base right away and talked to Stevenson, and there you see Brent Reeves, who pitched so well in relief in this series. But that's a very disappointed Garrett Stevenson, to be sure. He had elbow tendonitis that knocked him out of his start. He was throwing effectively here, but he has to give way now, and Brent Reeves will come out of the Cardinal bullpen.
And his elbow hurt so much a month ago that Stevenson could not lift a small box. He could not pick up his kids, and you can see the disappointment. I mean, he was pitching well. He had the lead, his first postseason experience.
You can see him looking at his elbow. He is in a lot of pain right now.
Will Clark, you talked about heading right over as he walked off the mound.
Well, what a tough time for Garrett Stevenson. His first postseason start, obviously in a bunch of pain right now. A lot of pain with that elbow problem. Andy Bennis, a starting pitcher, understands how disappointing for Stevenson.
Here's Dave Duncan, the pitching coach, number 18. So he's going to head back. He's been getting steady treatment, but here's when Will Clark walked over from first base.
Watch this. This is before the last pitch. Will Clark walks over and talks to Stevenson, and I'm assuming now that he's saying, listen, if you're hurt, get out of here. You don't need to put anything at stake. And then he went back and threw another pitch, and then Will Clark came back over to talk to him again. And Clark knew that he was hurt. And after he threw the next pitch, Stevenson shut it down. And this is his last pitch right here. Reggie Sanders at the plate. He throws the pitch. It's fouled off. And you can see he kind of winces in pain, but Clark had already come over. Now, this is after that pitch. He says, listen, if you're hurting, you get out of here. Don't put yourself in jeopardy right now. We've got other guys that can pitch here. And Clark knew what was going on. Stevenson was trying to battle through this inning, but he couldn't do it because that elbow wouldn't allow it.
Well, he had thrown a strikeout pitch to Brian Jordan that turned into a double play. And then only 2 pitches more, and he was out of here. So there's a bit of irony to the timing of the whole thing. But Will Clark was right there. And, of course, I mean, his point is if you're not fully healthy, that could turn into a run right like that.
Boy, you're right, John, and you don't want a pitcher out there not only to jeopardize his own career, but put the lead at stake. And Clark knew something was up with that elbow, so he went out there and he talked to
Very similar to what his current teammate Matt Morris had. Morris has been coming back from it. Reeves came to the big leagues in August when Andy Bennis had the knee problems. Reeves was used primarily as a starting pitcher, did a great job for them. But Tony La Russa, after their Game 1 win, kept going back to, people said, man, this happened, Polanco, this thing, that thing, and he kept saying, you know, but I'm in awe of what Britt Reams did.
He came into a situation first and second and struck out Andres Galarraga in the 7th inning as the Braves were trying to get back in the game. He struck out Galarraga on 3 pitches.
Well, he had a 7-4 lead, and with 2 men on, and then after striking out Galarraga, he walked Brian Jordan to load the bases. But he got Reggie Sanders and then Bobby Bonilla, and they didn't even score so much as 1 run against him. He had a 1-2-3 inning the next inning. And then it was Veers. I mean, those were the 7th and 8th innings of that game. And he strikes out Sanders looking. So Britt Reams, the rookie. The inning is over. We're going to the 5th. 3-1 Cardinals. We would be back with Game 4 here tomorrow. And then the Giants and Mets would be the primetime game on the first. As the first pitch is hit for a fly ball out by Britt Reams. And there is one away. Again, if the Yankees win tonight, if there's a Game 4 here tomorrow, we'll have it at 1 o'clock, noon Central. The Giants and Mets on the Fox network at 7:30 Eastern. Tonight's game, the Yankees and the Athletics will be televised by NBC at 7:30, and the Giants Mets 4 o'clock on the Fox network. That's later today. So Reams is gone. The batter will be Fernando Vina, who hit the 2nd pitch of the day against Kevin Millwood for a home run. The first postseason home run to lead off a game by a Cardinal since Lou Brock did it in 1968 in the World Series. Now Fernando shows bunt. He takes inside, 1 ball to no strikes. Three to 1 St. Louis. A very quiet, subdued, perhaps very tense crowd here in Atlanta. I mean, they just haven't. The Braves fans may be in a state of shock. I mean, the Braves fans who've been so accustomed to success, especially these early rounds of the playoffs, that they may have been asking one another, is that legal? Is that I don't remember that being allowed in the past.
They had a great record coming into this division series, 15-2 in their divisional series games, and then were lost back-to-back games, and they find themselves in a must-win situation against St. Louis.
Kevin Millwood, a strike, and it's 2-2 to Vina. In this division series, they lost one to the Rockies in 1995. They lost one to the Astros last year. They swept the Dodgers, Astros, Cubs, and suddenly down 2-0 here. I mean, some of those division series ended up being so lopsided it was as if, wow, they're just offering up a sacrificial lamb for the Braves to feast on in this first round. But that is not the case this year. And really, in the National League this year, the 4 teams in the postseason, extremely even. They won between 94 and 97 games. And again, it may not have been any different had they opened in Atlanta, but you go back to last Sunday, the fact that the Braves could not hold their home field advantage over the Cardinals. They were 1 strike away from wrapping it up. And Chipper Jones couldn't field the grounder. John Rocker could not get the 3rd out. Ball 4 to Vina.
An emotional swing thinking about opening up the divisional series here in Atlanta, and then that 9th inning they couldn't close out the deal. They had a lead, and then Jeff Cirillo hits a ground ball to 3rd. Chipper Jones can't make a play on it. Brent Maine comes in to keep the inning alive, and then Todd Helton on an 0-2 pitch hits a home run into the seats in right field to give the Rockies the lead. And when he hit that home run in St. Louis, they put the score up on the scoreboard at Busch Stadium, and the crowd went crazy. And then just minutes after that, Craig Paquette hit a home run to give the Cardinals the lead, and the momentum and the home field advantage had left Atlanta and gone all the way to St. Louis.
Yeah, it wasn't just that the Braves had lost. The Cardinals then had to win their game to get that home field, and they did. Now this, of course, has not always been the case that home field advantage had to be won. I mean, in years past, it had been the tradition of baseball that all postseason series were determined before the season ever started on a rotating basis. 0-1 the count to Renteria, who singled his last time just before Edmonds homered to put the Cardinals ahead. Renteria is 1 for 2 in the game. Vigna at first with 1 out. But I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago it was determined, hey, the team with the best record should play the wild card. And the team with the second best record should also be seeded. So those records during the regular season should mean something.
Well, even the way they had the home field advantage back in '97, the Giants had the home field advantage. They got 3 games at home, but they had to open up in Florida. And they ended up getting swept down there, and the home field advantage, that meant nothing.
And the format there was you had to start with 2 games on the road. There goes Vigna, called a strike. And Lopez throw, got it! And Vigna can't believe it. Larry Young calls him out, and Vigna gets into his face.
Well, you want to stay in the game in this situation, a 2-run ball game in the 5th. But Vigna felt like he had his hand on the bag when the tag was put on his back. Lopez made a pretty strong throw, but it looked like Vigna may have been in under the tag. Larry Young, the second base umpire, had a pretty good angle on it, but it looked as though that the tag from Lockhart was indeed on the back of Vigna. He gets a good jump, strong throw by Lopez, and watch the tag. Tags him on the leg, and it appeared as though Vigna had already slid past Lockhart and made contact. Looks much closer right there when you slow it down, and Larry Young, of course, doesn't have the benefit of this slow motion replay. He made a quick call, and he felt like the tag beat Vigna.
2 down, nobody on. And a curveball down and away to Renteria. 1 ball and 2 strikes. But going back to this whole notion of home field, in other words, the Braves many times in these postseason series in years past have not had home field, and it didn't really make that much difference. They were better and they won, but the Braves now have lost that margin of comfort, I guess, against the opposition. They've always been clearly better, especially going in with Glavine, Maddox, and Smoltz, plus a succession of real strong 4th pitchers. Not this year, and losing that home field this year may have been of critical importance to them in the final analysis. There's ball 3.
I think how quickly it happened, John, because they were playing, it was the 9th inning. They were close to closing out their season and probably thinking ahead to Tuesday. Work out here on the off day and play Tuesday.
And it would be hard to envision them playing as poorly as they played in that first inning in St. Louis Tuesday had the game been here. 3-2. And he walks. Close one on the outside, but that's the 2nd consecutive walk allowed by Millwood. And his 4th walk of the game, and here comes Jim Edmonds again. Edmonds in game 1 launched a home run for the 7th run. That was the 4th inning against Maddox. In game 2 he made this unbelievable catch. And then today with a 1-1 tie in the 3rd inning on a 2-0 count, and he knew it was gone. Well back into the Atlanta bullpen. So here's Edmonds with a chance to do more damage. Renteria running. A 1-hop throw. Not in time. Renteria just immediately took off there.
No hesitation whatsoever. Once again, Javi Lopez skipped the throw into the bag at second base. And he rushed his throw, threw it into the ground, and that enabled Renteria to slide under the tag of Furcal. You see that hits in the grass. He has to wait for the short hop. It skips into second, and Renteria has the stolen base.
That was a real close play at second. Nice tag there by Furcal after fielding the 1-hop throw. 1-0 to Edmonds. 2-0. First base is open, but Will Clark, another lefty, is on deck.
Well, this is the point you made earlier about Edmonds hitting so well because he had people in front of him and behind him. You see his numbers for the division series: 2 home runs, 6 RBIs, and a very gaudy batting average.
And the high slider misses. 3-0.
John, you can see by the way he takes pitches how well he's seeing the ball right now. There is no urgency whatsoever in his approach. He's relaxed. He's confident. He's seeing the ball very well out of Millwood's hand.
3-0 the count. Renteria at second, and Furcal bluffing in behind him, and as he did, Millwood committed a balk.
What happened there was Millwood got right in the middle of going into his set position, and then It looked as though Lopez threw down another side. Furcal was trying to jockey in behind the base runner. Now watch. He's in between. He moved his hand before he stepped off. Furcal had caught his eye. He was breaking in behind the runner.
Renteria bluffing down the line from third. 3-0 the count. The bullpen is busy right now for the Braves. And Millwood also is due up second in the last half of this inning. We're in the fifth. 3-0 to Edmonds. He spins in a slider on 3-0 for a strike. 3-1 now. Will Clark on deck. It's 82 pitches thrown by Millwood today. He's given up a couple of home runs. Vina led off the game with one, and then Edmonds crushing one to right center in the third. Edmonds hitting .636 in the series. Another slider. And it's 3-2.
Well, if you throw a 3-1, you can throw a 3-2 as well. So he can come right back and throw another breaking ball. He's got a base open. And no sense to really challenge Edmonds with the fastball here.
Now the crowd comes alive. The Atlanta fans rising to their feet, and as they do, Edmonds steps away. Almost as if to quiet them down.
It looked as though he's messing with his eyes, as if he got some dirt in him or something. Just checking to make sure everything is set.
Three balls, two strikes. Renteria at third. Another slider in the air to left field. Going back to Sanders. Still going back, and it's over his head. Bouncing into the seats for a double. Renteria scores, and Edmonds is a one-man gang. 8 for 12 in the series.
Well, Bobby Cox is very upset. That ball should have been caught. That's a ball that's slicing back toward the left fielder. And Reggie Sanders overran the ball. And Edmonds got the pitch away from him. Didn't try to muscle it. Take a look at the pitch. Slider down. He goes the other way. It's slicing back toward the left fielder. But look at Reggie Sanders. He overruns the ball and misplayed it. He's got to make that play. Obviously a huge play. And look at this. They're making a switch right here. And Bobby Cox on the bench watching it and can't believe it. And look at the change now. They're actually changing Bobby Bonilla and Reggie Sanders right here with 2 outs in the fifth.
So Sanders was the last man up in the fourth inning. And so the new pitcher, Mulholland, will hit in his position, and Bonilla will take over in the ninth position. 4-1. St. Louis will be back. So Kevin Millwood, an early exit from this game, and Jim Edmonds is the one who really does him in, although again Atlanta continues to play poorly on defense. He could have been out of this inning.
They sure should have been out of the inning. Reggie Sanders had to make that play. It was a slicing line drive, a very catchable ball. Bobby Bonilla came in on the double switch. Bonilla will be the third hitter, the second hitter in the inning.
Mulholland to Will Clark, and that's a ball outside.
But defensively, they have not played well. And Kevin Millwood actually did a pretty good job to keep the Braves in this ball game. And he should have been out of that last inning and should have allowed just 3 runs.
What about Millwood getting that pitch on 3-2 as hittable as it was?
Yeah, it was a slider down and in, but you got to give Edmonds some credit because it was not that bad a pitch. It was low. It was inside. Edmonds just chose to go the other way, which he has done so well this year. And he's absolutely worn out the Braves in this series. 4 doubles, 2 homers, and 7 RBIs in the 3 games. And we're only in the 5th inning of the 3rd one. 1-2 now to Will Clark. Now Clark has been quiet today. He has struck out and popped out 0 for 2. Now 2 for 8 in the series. But Tony La Russa is quick to point out in game 1, Will Clark had 1 hit. La Russa thought it was one of the big hits of the day, a line drive RBI single in the very first inning against Greg Maddux. Well, John, even though Clark hasn't had a hit in this game, he's had an impact because of the numbers he put up against Kevin Millwood. Millwood challenged Edmonds to put the ball in play. Edmonds has a home run and an RBI double in 3 at-bats.
Just the specter of Will Clark and his great success against Millwood may have gotten Edmonds some pitches to hit. 1-2 the count to Will Clark, and certainly that's a role that Mark McGwire filled for Edmonds the first half of this year when Edmonds got off to an incredibly hot start. I mean, you got to see some pitches they hit when Big Mac's hitting behind you.
Pretty comfortable hitting ahead of McGwire and Will Clark.
I mean, they can't afford to walk a guy too often with McGwire behind him. And that curveball just missed. 2-2 now to Will Clark. Fans thought it didn't miss. Terry Mulholland, he and Will Clark came up the same year with the San Francisco Giants, 1986. Mulholland has been extremely well traveled since that time. And he strikes out Clark with a high cut fastball. Clark is 0 for 3. But Jim Edmonds drives in another one. It's 4-1 Cardinals, last of the 5th coming up. This could be it for the Atlanta Braves in the 2000 season. Down 2-0 in this best of 5, and they are trailing 4-1 in this game, last of the 5th inning. They've got a lot of time left to mount a comeback. Britt Reams on in relief of the injured Garrett Stevenson, misses with a slider low to Keith Lockhart. Reams, a rookie out of the Citadel, a 17th round draft choice, who had the radical surgery in his right elbow that caused him to miss all of 1997 and 98. And he pointed out that he had been a catcher in college. That's ball 3. And after his first year in college, he played in the Baltimore Summer League, a very well-known summer league for prospects to play in. That's a strike. He played for Walter Yous, who you know real well, Buck. Longtime scout from Milwaukee. And Yous said, you know, you've got a good arm. I want to make you a pitcher. And he did. And he went 12-1 as a pitcher that summer, his first year as a pitcher. He went back to college. He said, I'd rather pitch. And Renteria makes the catch. Lockhart is retired. And there is one away. Pretty good crowd here today, but not a sellout. And included in the crowd is the former president, Jimmy Carter. And he's studying his scorecard, trying to figure who's left on the bench. How does the bullpen look?
How can we spark this offense? He's got his Braves cap on and saying, okay, we need something going right now. Bobby Bonilla get us started. Maybe we can get back in this game.
Slider too low to Bonilla. Well, he said when he pitched in college, he pitched once a week. He signed professionally with the Cardinals, and all of a sudden he's pitching every 5th day. And suddenly he needed surgery.
Yeah. The thing about the surgery nowadays is so many pitchers come back from the surgery actually healthier than they were before, and because they have to rehab so much, they get into a good routine of exercising and taking care of that arm. Billy Koch is a great example in Toronto of a guy that had Tommy John surgery and still throws 100 miles an hour. So pitchers and players in general have a tendency to take better care of their arms when they have problems.
It's a walk to Bobby Bonilla. So Bonilla gets aboard with 1 out, and now the leadoff man Rafael Furcal. Well, as they were in game 1, La Russa's bullpenners are going to be severely tested again here. They had to go 6 1/3 innings out of the bullpen in that first game as Rick Ankiel got knocked out in the 3rd, and now with Stevenson having to leave with an injury in the 4th, and the bullpen will have to go 5 1/3 innings to get through the 9th inning today. And that's a tough test for any bullpen.
Sure is. Give the hitters a chance to see you again.
Here is Furcal. He has walked and stolen a base and scored a run, and his fly down. Shows Buck takes a sinking fastball for a called strike. This year, Reams, coming back from the surgery, began the year in Double-A at Arkansas and had a 6.13 earned run average there. 1-1 the count. Furcal again shows Buck takes a fastball up and away, but people were getting hurt or traded at the Triple-A level, so finally he got called up to Triple-A really by default, not because he was pitching well, but he put it together at Memphis. He went 6-2 with a 3.4 ERA. When Andy Bennis got the bad knee, they said, who's pitching the best down there at Triple-A? And it was Britt Reams.
Timing is everything in this game, John. And when Reams came up and made his debut on the 20th of August, he was only the 6th starting pitcher the Cardinals had used all year long.
Any other one other than their big five, all of whom had strong years. 2-2 to Furcal. Here's the group of them out there in the Cardinal bullpen.
Everybody is available today.
And that was supposed to be their weakness. You know, when all the experts started assessing the strengths and weaknesses of these four teams in the National League, it was thought that the Cardinals, maybe their Achilles heel was that their bullpen didn't match up. Runner going, and that ball is fouled away. Bonilla took off, and Furcal needing to protect him here.
Well, Bobby Cox starting to try to generate some offense. You'll remember he did it in the 4th inning when he had Javi Lopez at first base. He had Ryan Jordan at the plate with 2 strikes. He started Lopez. Jordan has been a hot hitter in this series, but he struck out on a high pitch, and Lopez was thrown out. So he's still trying to generate some offense and get something going.
It seems whatever the Braves do in the series, it works out poorly. Bonilla not running. And Furcal again fouls it away. Will Clark, by the way, we're talking about Bonilla running in that last pitch. Will Clark is not on the bag with Bonilla. Will Clark playing behind him.
Well, with the 3-run lead, Tony La Russa stepped out of the dugout and signaled to Clark, hey, I want you to play behind him. Don't get deep behind him. Try to keep him as close as you can from that position. But I want to be behind him.
2-2. And 3-2 now to Furcal.
And the reason you play behind him is to give Clark a couple of more steps of range as opposed to holding him on bag. You've got a 3-run lead. It's the 5th inning. By giving him that extra step of range, maybe he can knock a ball down and eliminate 1st and 3rd.
Well, he was running earlier. He may run again. 3-2 the count. Bonilla not running. Down the right field line, deep and foul. Still 3-2 to Rafael Furcal.
Furcal had 4 home runs this year. They all came late in the year in September. And just like Fernando Vina, you throw him a fastball on the inside part of the plate, he's got enough pop to hit a line drive home run out of here.
But he's not a very big guy. Very fast, and he's got some pop in his bat. Bonilla holding, and another foul off to the left. So Furcal is really giving Reams a workout here.
Furcal hit very well against the Cardinals during the regular season. And as John mentioned, he got a base hit in his first at bat against St. Louis in this divisional series, but he hasn't had a hit since.
So Furcal steps in again. 3-2 the count. 1 hit in 10 at bats for the series. Another foul. That was the 10th pitch of this at bat. And it may take something like this to get the Braves turned around here. So an epic at bat. Reams throwing nothing but tough pitches here, and Furcal is fighting one after the other off.
Well, Bobby Cox needs somebody to step up and come up with a big clutch hit.
3-2. He walks. That was a walk earned the hard way. 11 pitches. Now the Braves have 2 men on. And they've got the big hitters up. The 36 home run hitters, Andrew Jones and Chipper Jones, are the next 2 hitters due up. And that gets the crowd into it here. They're chopping.
Well, as they chop, Dave Duncan pops out of the third base dugout and comes out and talks to his rookie right-hander with Renteria and Hernandez in on the meeting. Just a reminder, listen, pitch ahead. You've got a little lead here now with 3 runs. Use all of your pitches, and let's try to make a good pitch right here to Andrew Jones. Reams faced Jones. Actually, he didn't face him in his relief appearance in St. Louis in Game 1.
So Duncan back to the dugout. The Cardinal bullpen, meanwhile, is quiet. There is no warm-up activity going on there. So now the Braves fans try to insinuate themselves into the action here. Andrew Jones, who has looked bad today, is fouled out twice. Takes a fastball over the outside, and it's 0-1. Andrew fouled out to the first baseman. That was one of the first troubling signs for the Braves. After a 4-pitch walk to Furcal starting off the game by Stevenson, Andrews swung at a bad ball in the first pitch and fouled out. Just a bit low on the outside, but Reeves is painting that outside edge here.
Well, you remember we had a shot of Andrew Jones talking to Merv Retman, and I'm sure Retman trying to encourage Jones to be more selective at the plate.
1 ball, 1 strike to count. That could be 2. Pena to second 1. Back to first. Double play. Chipper Jones was on deck. He'll have to wait an inning. It starts crumbling for the Braves again. 4-1 Cardinals. A hero, and in some cases, all 3 games the same hero. I mean, for the Cardinals, Jim Edmonds has taken over this series, 8 for 12. He has set a division series record already. I mean, in 3 games, actually 2.5 games, with 4 doubles and 2 homers, 6 extra base hits. Nobody's ever had more than 5 extra base hits in a division series before. Here's Ray Langford taking a strike from Terry Mulholland. We start the 6th inning. The Cardinals lead 4-1.
John, Jim Edmonds talked about his month of August, how disappointing he was in the way he got into a slump there. He was pulling off the ball. He certainly rectified that. He's driving the ball to all fields. He's very, very deliberate in his approach. He's very smooth. You can see that he's seeing the ball so well. And obviously, he's become big numbers.
Every hitter has a slump somewhere along the line. Although for Edmonds, because there were so many strong candidates for the MVP award, that slump may have cost him his chance at the MVP award. 2-1 the count to Langford. He has struck out twice in this game. Carlos Hernandez and J.D. Drew will follow. That is a called strike on the outside. 2-2 the count. 4 runs, 4 hits for the Cardinals. 1 run, 3 hits, and 1 error for the Braves. That was really a back-breaking finish to the Braves' 5th inning. They had been given an opportunity. 2 walks by the rookie Britt Reeves, and they had their big hitters up there. And that's back to the screen. Still 2 balls and 2 strikes. But Andrew Jones up there. He had the count in his favor, and suddenly,
well, just like this, it's hit right to the second baseman. The ball takes Pena to the bag. He steps on it, throws to first base for the inning-ending double play, and the Braves just can't come up with a big clutch hit. That would have given Chipper Jones an opportunity to come to the plate with runners on, and the Braves just have not been able to get anything together. They can't put back-to-back hits together.
Andrew Jones only 1 hit in 8 at-bats in the series. That 1 hit was a home run in the 8th inning after it was really not an issue anymore. And I remember last year, Andrew, by the time they got to the World Series and they really needed some offense from the middle of the order, they just were not generating anything against the Yankees. And Andrew had the same problem, and he was swinging a bad pitch and looking a little over anxious. I mean, sometimes we forget how young he still is. It seems like he's been around forever.
Well, when you see Will Clark and Jim Edmonds enjoying great postseasons, it's reflective of where they are in their careers. They're experienced players, and they can handle the distractions of the postseason.
Just missing on the outside. Andrew Jones, despite going all the way back to 1996 and having 2 homers in his first game in the World Series that year against the Yankees. Andrew's only 23 years old. And that's ball 4 to Langford. No swing. That is the 4th walk drawn by Cardinal hitters. There's Kerry Lightenberg up in the Atlanta bullpen. Langford on at first. In years past, Langford would have been a threat to run, and it would have been pretty interesting in this situation because Terry Mulholland may be the single most difficult pitcher to run against in either league. He's got a real tricky move over there, and he's got sort of a move that you would expect, and then he's got this step off the slab snap throw move over there that's devastating.
It's always been very difficult to run on. You just can't get any kind of jump whatsoever against Terry Mulholland.
It's the look similar to what the runner gets. That ball is hit into center field, base hit for Hernandez. Langford stops at second base. So Hernandez gets his first hit. Immediately Langford and Hernandez getting the Cardinals thinking about a rally to put this one away.
Carlos Hernandez played 14 games in the postseason in '98 with the Padres. He hits a good pitch right there. A pitch down in the zone, and look at Langford. Not wanting to stray too far off the bag at first with Mulholland on the mound. All they can do is advance to second base, respectful of the great arm in center of Andrew Jones.
Well, you know, they talk about getting your lead, and then there's a thing called the secondary lead. And with Mulholland on the mound, Langford had no secondary lead at all.
Not at all. He didn't want to bounce off too far.
Here now is J.D. Drew. There's the bunt. Chipper Jones. Lockhart covering. The runners have been advanced. Langford over to third. Hernandez over to second. So Drew getting that one done right away. 5-4 for the putout on the sacrifice. And now Polanco will come up.
Perfect execution by J.D. Drew. He draws the third baseman away from the bag. Chipper Jones has to charge right here and make the play, and that's what you want. You want the third baseman fielding this ball. So they advance both runners up to 90 feet, and you can see that Tony La Russa doesn't think this game is over.
Trying to lengthen their lead. Second and third, one out. Bobby Cox goes to his bullpen for Lightberg. Runners at second and third, one out. And Placido Polanco coming to the plate. Polanco, who had the 3-hit game in game 1 of this series, including one of the biggest hits of the series. His bases loaded single in the first inning against Maddox, scored 3-0, turned it into a 6-0 game. The infield has come in for Atlanta, as you saw there. Langford at third, Hernandez at second. A slider low and outside to Polanco. 1 ball and no strikes. There's Ray Langford, who walked to start off the inning. Carlos Hernandez at second, who singled to center. The crowd again very, very quiet.
Lightberg faced Polanco in game 2 and got him to fly to center field to end the 7th.
Fastball off the outside, 2-0.
The reason that Tony La Russa has gone to Polanco in this series is because of his ability to put the ball in play, and that's very important, obviously, right here in the 6th inning. He wants to get a ball up in the zone, and he can drive over that drawn-in infield, at least to the outfield.
Now, the pitcher, Reams, is on deck, but the Cardinals' bullpen is busy. That's a strike, 2-1. And Big Mac has got a helmet on and a bat in his hands. So really, in this spot, if you're Lightberg, it's almost as if you would have to assume, as James is heating up in the bullpen, that it's Polanco batting with McGuire on deck.
So what you need to do is really grind on Polanco and retire him and leave the base open.
2-2.
Because if you face McGuire with 2 outs and a base open, obviously you're going to put him on.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Braves bullpen is also busy. 2-2 to Polanco. There's Mike Remlinger, a left-hander, up in the Atlanta bullpen after the pitcher's spot. Got the left-handed batting Fernando Vina due up. 4-1 St. Louis. Second and third, 1 out. Fastball fouled out of play.
Lightberg's made great pitches in this at bat. Everything has been away. Everything has been low. He hasn't given Polanco anything that he can elevate and hit to the outfield.
Easler talking to Fernando Vina in the dugout. A couple of batters off, but right now it's Polanco trying to put the Cardinals in total command of this game. Slider to second, bobbled, the throw home, not in time. The bobble by Lockhart took away his chance to get the speedy Ray Langford. It is 5-1 St. Louis with Hernandez going to third.
Well, with a 3-run cushion, the Cardinals can gamble and they went on contact. Langford with good speed. Polanco hit it sharply right at Lockhart at second. But Lockhart bobbled it. Good break from third by Langford. And watch him step right over the shin guard of Javi Lopez. If he slides, it may have been a different story, but the bobble was the important point of this entire play. And look at Langford not sliding. He steps right over the leg of the catcher, Javi Lopez. Lopez steps up in front of home plate to block the path of the base runner, but Langford steps right over his foot on home plate. But once again, the defense of the Braves not coming through with a key play.
Well, now Eric Davis comes out of the St. Louis dugout, and it will be Davis rather than McGuire. And again, and this was talked about before this series, just the threat of McGuire could be enough to affect the other manager or maybe the opposing pitcher.
The reason you don't hit McGuire in this situation is because he can't run at all. It's first and third with one out. If he hits a ground ball, it's going to be a guaranteed double play. Davis has good speed, so you send him up here. He hit a sacrifice fly in St. Louis in game 2. And you want him to elevate the ball. First and third, one out. If McGuire hits a ground ball, you're out of the inning.
Davis says he goes up there and actually sits on a breaking ball as a pinch hitter. And he got it, and he was sitting on it.
He's a very good low ball hitter, and it's a pretty good matchup, even though it's right-hander against right-hander. Ligtenberg throws a lot of pitches down in the zone, and you can see big swing, and he pulled off of that slider just at the end.
There goes the runner from first. Polanco. The throw is much too late. I mean, Lopez had no prayer of throwing out Polanco there. 0-2 the count to Davis. Now with runners at second and third again.
Well, look at the great jump at first base by Polanco, and a kind of a desperation throw by Javi Lopez. Once again, it's short of the mark at second. 3 times today in this game, he's bounced throws to second base.
Now the infield is in again, and Davis chases the high hard one and misses. Strike 3.
Oh, Ligtenberg reached back for a little extra, went with a 4-seam fastball upstairs. It gets Davis to swing and miss.
Now Fernando Vina will come up. And this is what you were talking about, Buck.
He elevates the fastball, 4-seamer straight over the top, and just overpowers Eric Davis.
Now Bobby Cox is coming up. He's got the left-hander Remlinger ready in the bullpen. Now for the Braves, so many things. Mike Remlinger comes on with the left-handed batting. Vina at the plate, and 2 runners in scoring position. The Braves' hopes in this game already growing fainter. Through the middle, base hit. Hernandez is in, and Polanco is in. It is 7-1 St. Louis. Fernando Vina, first ball swinging again. He has 3 RBIs in the game.
And they got things up on the right foot with that first inning home run to start the game. And he delivers here.
Fernando Vina running the lefty just to face him, and just like that, he foils the strategy. 3 runs are in. The Cardinals 7, Atlanta 1. It is turning into another rout. Cards have outscored the Braves in this series now 24-10. Edgar Renteria is flied out, singled and scored, walked and scored.
I think everybody's surprised by the offense the Cardinals have been able to muster against the Braves. Obviously, they got to Maddox and Glavine for 14 runs in games 1 and 2. And now they are beating up on the bullpen.
Darren Stevenson back out of the dugout now with his jacket on. Left the game with stiffness in his elbow. Powered the fastball by him. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Fernando Vina, we haven't seen him in there talking with Mike Easler. everything seems to work out well for the Cardinals right now. Stevenson went 3 2/3 while he was in there and was pitching well. Keith Lockhart, and that ends the inning. An inning that could have been much different had Lockhart cleanly fielded a ground ball hit by Polanco. Chipper Jones coming up with the Braves are down by 6. Cardinals 7, Atlanta 1 now. Last of the 6th inning. And for the Braves, there's just barely the faintest trace of a pulse at this moment. And Fernando Vina has been as responsible as anybody else for what the Cardinals have done, especially here today. Jim Edmonds has also been part of the wrecking crew for the Cardinals.
Well, Vina gets the base hit on the first pitch he sees from Mike Remlinger. And then Mike Easler, the hitting coach, talks about the hit.
Yes! That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, yes. That's it, baby.
And Sean Dunston right alongside Easler there, leading the cheers. And Mike James on the pitch now for the Cardinals.
Well, Vina had the first inning home run in his first at bat against Kevin Millwood. He hit an inside fastball out of the ballpark. He's got 3 RBIs on the day. This is a balanced attack the Cardinals will throw at you.
And for the Braves, who had 2 walks in the 5th inning from Britt Reams and Andrew Jones up and Chipper Jones behind him with a chance to get right back in the game. But look what happened. Andrew Jones hit an inning-ending double play. Then in the top of the 6th inning, the runners at 2nd and 3rd, 1 out. A ball hit to the second baseman Lockhart with the infield in. He did not field it cleanly. Still made a play to the plate, but too late to get Langford. Had that ball been fielded cleanly by Lockhart, it's well possible the Braves would not have scored at all in the 6th inning. So, I mean, how dramatically has this game changed? On one swing of Andrew Jones' bat, an inning-ending double play, and then one brief muff on a ground ball to Keith Lockhart, and suddenly, instead of a chance to maybe chip away at the lead or even tie the game, now they're down by 6.
It was always the Braves that were the opportunistic team to take advantage of the opportunities. It has been the Cardinals that have cashed in on grave mistakes.
That was a swing and a miss. Hernandez throws to first. He got it. Chipper did not realize. And the fans are booing Chipper for not initially running. He apparently did not realize at first that Hernandez had missed the pitch and belatedly broke for first, and Hernandez still able to throw him out.
Well, it was a belated reaction. Here's the swing and the miss. Pitches away. It goes off the glove of Hernandez, and it takes him a while to react. Now watch Chipper Jones. He thinks that Hernandez caught it. By the time Hernandez retrieves the ball, he's got a long throw to first and just barely in time to get Chipper Jones for the strikeout. That's a tough throw because you're throwing right up the baseline as the base runner's closing in on Will Clark.
He almost hit it. Andres Galarraga fouling it back to the screen. Galarraga has singled home a run, the only Braves run of the day, and he is lined out to right center. On 1 the count to Galarraga. And that slider to second. Fernando Vina. 2 men gone. Well, I guess the problem if you're a Braves fan, Chipper not being able to get the first on that ball, is it's just the latest in a long line of muffs or indiscretions that everyone just seems to cost the Braves every time.
Well, it's just a different scenario for the Braves than they are used to. Coming back, they have such a rich tradition of winning here in Atlanta, and it has been a ritual. October baseball.
I remember 1997 when we were here, the Houston Astros were in, and they had only gotten in because they were in a weak division. They won only 84 games, and on paper it was a mismatch, and in reality it was a mismatch. They thoroughly dismantled the Astros, although Darryl Kyle made it a tight first game. But it has been the Braves who are being thoroughly trounced here, as though they're the team that doesn't belong. We're going to the 7th. Jim Edmonds coming up. 7-1 St. Louis. I'm John Miller with Buck Martinez. And Paul Bacco has come on to catch now for Atlanta, replacing Javier Lopez, who made the final out of the 6th inning. And between innings, one of the Atlanta trainers working on Lopez's knee. There's Eduardo Perez, who has been at last series that they would win the whole World Series because this Cardinal team was so strong that they would be good enough to win it all if they could beat the Cardinals. Well, so far they have not been nearly good enough to beat the Cardinals.
Well, John, you had mentioned that all 4 of the National League teams are very close in that they're pretty well balanced, and certainly the Mets and the Giants are evenly matched ball clubs as well.
Jim Edmonds fouling one away. Now Edmonds hit the home run in the 3rd that broke a 1-1 tie on a 2-0 pitch. In the 5th, he doubled a home run with 2 down to make it 4-1, but that double was on a ball that appeared as though it should have been caught by left fielder Reggie Sanders. High and tight to Edmonds. That one kind of buzzed him right by his nose. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Well, Remlinger came in and gave up the 2-run base hit to Fernando Vina with 2 outs in the 6th.
1-2 the count. Strike 3 called on the inside. Edmonds complains to Montague about the call.
Well, with the inside fastball, Ed Montague felt like it caught the inside corner, and Jim Edmonds reluctantly packs his bat back to the dugout. Take a look at this last pitch. Bacco, the catcher, gives Montague a good look at it, and Edmonds didn't agree with the call. Gives you an idea that might have been off the plate a tad.
1 down. Here's Will Clark. But is that still one of those pitches, though, with 2 strikes?
Yeah. I think
close enough.
He got surprised a little bit by the fact that they came inside to him with the fastball.
Yeah, that was the next pitch after they kind of buzzed one right under his chin. And he's still on Montague. 1 ball, 1 strike down to Will Clark. So, a lot of times after they throw one up and in like that at you, the next one's down and away. A slider. Cutter. Clark back to the screen, and the count 1-2. Will Clark is 0 for 3.
John, we heard Jim Edmonds thought at the start of this game about the emotions of this ball club and how they have really effectively channeled the emotions. But you can see, even as Edmonds sits on the bench, he's still got a lot of emotions running, even though it's 7-1 here in the 7th inning. This is a pretty tightly wrapped ball club.
And the slider bounced foul by Will Clark. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Just Edmonds and Clark together, those 2 guys are very intense, and they're feeding off of this postseason energy. Will Clark was stuck in Baltimore in a very, very regretful situation, thinking that, boy, his 2000 season was going to be a write-off. And then he was dealt to St. Louis.
Inside to Clark. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, Will Clark certainly realized right away how much talent there was in this Cardinal ball club when he arrived there, but also seemed to feed off the energy inspired by that great crowd at Busch Stadium. And of course, his first home game at Busch Stadium was a game against the Braves. Check swing and a foul back to the screen. 2-2 to Will Clark. And Will Clark responded to that. Not just energy of the crowd, but the appreciation for the crowd. They loved him before he ever had swung a bat in Busch Stadium. 2-2 the count. And that's too low. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Will Clark. But Clark had immediate success, and the crowd immediately loved him. And And that has not been one of those things that failed to grow. They love him even more now. 3-2 the count. And that is a foul on the first base side.
Well, in game 2, he had a huge home run against Tom Glavine, a 3-run home run. It wiped out a 2-run Braves lead. Mark McGwire went down with the knee injury, and Walt Jocketty and Tony La Russa said, you know what, we couldn't have come up with a better replacement for Mark McGwire than Will Clark.
3-2 the count. Deep and fouled on the right field line. Majestic drive. Very deep but very foul.
And they came about Will Clark because they were pursuing an opportunity. And this is the ovation that Will Clark got when he stepped in for his first at bat against Tom Glavine.
And then the first pitch. And then he got brought out for the encore. The wave of the hat. I mean, that's one of those incredible moments. The ovation, and he had to step away and acknowledge the crowd a couple of times. Then finally stepped in for his first at bat there. And on the first pitch against Tom Glavine, he homered. Shallow right center, could be trouble. Nobody gets there. And the fans are not happy about it. Even with the left-handed hitter up there, Andrew Jones, as the Braves do with almost every left-handed hitter, was well over toward left center. Just had too far to go.
Yeah, he couldn't get to it. They play everybody opposite. They pitch everybody away in general, and Will Clark, look at him peeking down there to see where he was set up. He happened to look at the catcher. Ball was away. He pops it up. He thinks it's going to be a pop-up and an out, but Lockhart can't make a play. Jones has got too far to run. It's a base hit for Clark.
Now Ray Lankford, the hitter, and he takes ball 1. Lankford has struck out twice and walked. His walk in the 6th inning precipitated a 3-run rally for the Cardinals, which really broke this one open. 7-1 they lead. That slider, he swung at it. The count, 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, the last postseason series for the Braves before this one was the 1999 World Series, in which they were swept by the New York Yankees. Unlike this series, game 1 of that one, game 3 of that one could easily have gone to the Braves. That is a base hit to right field. Clark the second, he'll hold there. And the Braves could easily have had a 2-1 lead over the Yankees going to game 4 last October. The Yankees made comebacks in the late innings against Maddox and Glavine in games 1 and 3. Plus, Glavine had a serious bout with the flu that he came down with the day before the series started. Kept him from starting in game 1. And even so, both he and Maddox pitched valiantly in their efforts. Maddox had a 1-0 lead to the 8th inning against the Yankees last October. The point being, they were swept in that series. Now their next postseason series, they're in the process of being swept again. But this one is completely different. I mean, this is as if the Braves have almost never been in any of these games. The first game they had chances to come back, could never get a clutch hit.
Yeah, the offense has been more of a disappointment for Bobby Cox than the pitching. Even though their 2 starters got roughed up, they had chances to come back in both of those games. The offense hasn't been able to come up and put any hits together or mount any comeback against the St. Louis Cardinals.
2-0 the count to Carlos Hernandez, Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones. 2 of their premier sluggers, 36 home runs apiece. Andres Galarraga, 100 RBIs. He's coming back from cancer. But just the 1 RBI for him. Brian Jordan had 4 RBIs in those first 2 games. He was the exception. He was the guy who did get the clutch hits, especially in game 1. But today, a day of just utter failure for the Braves after getting the 1 run in the first. And they have been shut down since, although they've had opportunities. But little things. Jordan swinging and missing in what looked to be ball 4. It turned into a double play in the 4th inning. Hernandez in the 7th. Andrew Jones flipping the glasses down. Number 2. Hernandez now 1 for 4. And the batter will be J.D. Drew. But for all of that, I mean, the Cardinals, it's not just Edmonds has been hot. Up and down the lineup. I mean, Polanco in game 1 got the hit that made it a 6-run inning in the 1st inning of the 1st game. Fernando Vina today, and again with the Braves, really wanted to shut them down and get going early themselves. And Vina hits the 2nd pitch of the game out of the park.
Yeah.
Not the most likely guy in baseball to lead off a game with a home run.
Well, you set yourself up to deal with the heart of the order that's been wearing you out. And then Fernando Vina steps up there, and you're trying to keep him off base. And the pitch by Millwood was meant to be outside. It was an inside fastball, and he rips a line drive into the seats, and that really got the Braves in a hole early.
J.D. Drew has walked, grounded out, and a sacrifice. 0 for 1. 2 on, 2 out in the 7th. Good curveball from Remlinger, too low. No swing, says third base umpire Ted Barrett. 2 balls, no strikes. Well, the Cardinals hold on to this one. Their next game will not be until Wednesday. That's when the National League Championship Series is scheduled to begin. The Giants and the Mets are still battling to find out which one of those teams will be in it. The shortstop for Powell. Over there's in time to get through. 2 hits, 2 left. Last half of the 7th inning. 7-0. Batter against Mike James is Brian Jordan. Jordan has flied out to right and struck out into a double play. 0 for 2. On deck is Wally Joyner to pinch hit for Mike Remlinger. Only 3 hits for the Braves today. James is the 3rd Cardinal pitcher. Stevenson started. Left the game in the 4th inning with 2 down. With elbow pain. Stiffness in the elbow is the report. Reams picked up for him with 1 1/3 innings, giving up no runs. James has pitched 1 scoreless inning since he came on. This is his 2nd inning. Too far in, 2-1 the count. James, although he's a veteran, he's had a lot of big league experience. Used to be with the Angels, a teammate of Jim Edmonds when they were both in Anaheim, and they're the best of friends. But he also had the Tommy John elbow surgery, as did Britt Reams. Center field going back is Edmonds. Plenty of room. Jordan is out number 1. But the 2 of them, Reams now 3 1/3 scoreless innings in this series, and James now 3 2/3 scoreless innings.
Yeah, it's easy to look at the Braves and say, well, their starting pitching really let them down. But you can also look at the offense and say, you know what, we have not been able to muster much offense against the St. Louis Cardinals. And the bullpen in particular has come in and throttled the Braves offense.
Yeah, in game 2, Kyle was magnificent, but in game 1, it was the Cardinal bullpen that bailed them out. 6 1/3 innings of pitching that day, and so far today, 2 2/3 innings. And in game 1 and game 3, that's a total of 9 innings pitched without allowing an earned run out of the bullpen. Wally Joyner is the pinch hitter. In the 7th spot of the order, pinch hitting for Remlinger. The count 1 ball and 1 strike.
John, the bullpens in baseball have become so important for managers when you try to get those last outs of a ball game. If you work into the 7th, and the offensive teams around baseball can score so often that the bullpens become very important. The specialists, you have guys that close out innings.
Renteria. And he throws out Joyner out, number 2. 2 men gone in the Atlanta 7th inning. 7-1. Cardinals are leading, and Keith Lockhart is going to come up. By the way, we got a report at the Cardinal clubhouse that Polanco, replaced here by Paquette, has left the game with tightness in his left hamstring. Here's Lockhart. He's popped to third and popped to short. 0 for 2. Outside ball 1. 7-1. St. Louis, last of the 7th. Giants and Mets will be playing very shortly at Shea Stadium. A pivotal game then. swing game in best of 5. It's even at a game apiece. Game 3 is the one that puts one of those teams in charge of the series. Renteria calling off Vigna, makes the catch. It's a quick, quiet inning. 2 perfect innings of pitching for James. Greg Paquette, he takes the ball outside. 1 ball and no strikes. Paquette, on opening day when McGuire was unable to go because his back was causing him some trouble, he made the start in his place and hit a 3-run homer on opening day. And then in the final game of the season, in his final at bat, he hit another 3-run homer to help secure the home field advantage after the Braves had lost their 9th inning lead here. Sort of bookend 3-run homers by Craig Paquette in his first swing and on his final swing of the 2000 season.
John, one thing Tony La Russa does is he utilizes his entire roster and makes everybody feel important and gets everybody involved, whether it's Carlos Hernandez or Craig Paquette.
Right field, Jordan. And there is one away.
One thing that does when you keep everybody active is when you do have a situation like Mike Matheny, then you have Hernandez who can step right in and fill in the board.
And here's Mark McGuire. And McGuire gets a very warm ovation from the Atlanta crowd. Ashby against McGuire. McGuire can't run. Chipper Jones has got all the time here. He throws it out. So 2 men are gone. McGuire as a pinch hitter, and in his career he has had 7 home runs as a pinch hitter and only 53 at bats. That is the best active home run ratio as a pinch hitter among all players. 1 pinch hit homer for every 6.1 pinch hit at bats.
Well, it doesn't seem like much, but it's important that Tony La Russa gives McGuire those pinch hitting opportunities as you look ahead to the National League Championship Series and potentially the World Series. So he'll have some pinch hit at bats under his belt.
Here's Fernando Vigna. What a day he's had. He got the Cardinals off to the quick start, leading off the game with a home run. And later in the 6th inning, a 2-run single, and that was really the backbreaker, the crusher. The score was 5-1 at that time. The Braves still could have harbored visions of a comeback, but suddenly it was 7-1 after his 2-run single in the 6th. Vigna had just been a great pickup. I mean, they made so many pickups, but sometimes his is overlooked. That was that first inning home run.
Got the fastball on the inside, and he hammered the line drive to get the Cardinals off and running here in the first inning. When you talk about the acquisition of Vigna, not only does he give him a leadoff guy, but he certainly shores up the defense up the middle. That's Correa and Vigna, very potent double play tandem.
A lot of range out there. He's the igniter at the top of the order.
And you look at this lineup, it's very balanced, and maybe one of the most pivotal at bats in this whole series was Polanco's at bat in game 1 when he came up with a big 2-run single.
Vigna down on strikes. Ashby with the hard sinker gets it. But ESPN, if this score holds up, the Cardinals are leading 7-1 as Bobby Bonilla stands in against Matt Morris, the new Cardinal pitcher. But if this score ends up this way, this series will be over. The only way we would have a game on ESPN tomorrow would be if the Yankees actually lost tonight, in which case we would have the Mets Giants game for you at 4 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. And Langford takes care of it. Bobby Bonilla retired for 1 away for Atlanta, and Rafael Furcal. Talk about things being deceiving. The first pitch of this division series was thrown by a rookie, Rick Ankiel, to this rookie, Rafael Furcal, and Furcal hit it for a base hit. That was definitely not an omen for the Braves.
There's Anquillo sitting down in the Cardinals bullpen today. He, like everybody else except Kyle, available to pitch in this game.
What was an omen was that a little bit later in that inning, after his single in that first game, when the count went to 2-0 to Chipper Jones, Forcal decided to try and steal then, and he was thrown out. And things have been going poorly for the Braves ever since. Forcal again retired. He has not had another hit since leading off that first game. Those of you who have tuned in looking for golf coverage at 4 o'clock, here is the leaderboard at the Michelob Championship at Kings Mill, 3rd round. David Duval leading. That's over on ESPN2 right now. So if you're tuned in looking for that, that's where it is going to be found. ESPN2. Check it out. And as soon as this ball game is over, it will be rerouted over here to ESPN. Buck and I feel strongly that it's best probably and less confusing if you just stay right here.
Of course.
And then the golf will appear when the game is over.
When it's meaningful, and we'll watch the rest of this game. See if the Cardinals can hang on. Whether or not the Braves can come up with a late game rally.
Andrew Jones down the right field line. That is twisting foul. Andrew, young center fielder with all the promise. And he's been around so long, and he's got so much incredible ability. But he probably put more work in this offseason, leading into this season, than he ever had before. And it was his dad down in his native Curacao who really encouraged him to do it, because Andrew gets homesick. You know, when the season's over, he likes to go home, see his friends, see his mom and dad. And his dad said, listen, it's time for you to move it up. Go to that next step. You've got to put the work in, make this a year-round thing, and be better prepared for the start of next season. And that's what Andrew did. And his dad's urging. Right to second. Vina throws him out. The long winter will soon be on the internet. Check it out. Thanks to Major League Baseball, to the commissioner, Bud Selig, to Paul Beeston. As the first pitch is hit on the ground by Renteria, and Forcal throws him out. Renteria has been involved in 2 different rallies. Retired here. The Major League Baseball broadcasting department, Leslie Sullivan, always a big help to us. Bernadette McDonald, Chuck Torres, and another outstanding year in Major League Baseball. Excellent pennant races, drama right up to the end. Sammy Sosa, 50 home runs, and another outstanding year. 1998, we had the great home run race between McGuire and Sosa, but we had some thrills in the pennant race this year.
Well, we sure did. Tom Glavine with his 21 wins led the National League in that department. Greg Maddux with another 19-win season, and so much history surrounding this Braves ball club and tradition of winning, and it appears as though they're going to fall short again this year.
0-1 the count to Edmonds, and a high hard one. 0-2 the count. Now the question is, as it's becoming more and more evident that the Cardinals are going to move on to the League Championship Series, although the Braves will have Chipper Jones and Galarraga coming up in the last of the ninth. That slider bounced foul. The count still 0-2. Here's the question of home field advantage again. If the Cardinals were to play the Mets, if the Mets beat the Giants, the Cardinals would have the home field advantage as they get ready for the champagne celebration in the Cardinal clubhouse here at Turner Field. And Barry Weinberg, the trainer, put the plastic up, and that sinker too low for Ashby. 1 ball and 2 strikes. If they played the Giants, however, if the Giants prevail over the Mets, that series on Wednesday would open at Pacific Bell Park. If they were to play the Mets, they would open up at Busch Stadium next Wednesday. And we saw that that seemed to make a pretty big difference in this series, although they've come here to Atlanta, and that has meant almost nothing at all to the Braves today. They've been thoroughly trounced here in their own ballpark.
Yeah, but the difference was the fact the Cardinals got to play at home and got off to a great start and ride the momentum and enthusiasm of the home crowd at Busch Stadium. And the Giants all year long have been tremendous at Pac Bell Park, and they would like to open up the National League Championship Series out there. Of course, Mets have a lot to say about that.
The Mets would like to open the National League Championship Series out there in St. Louis.
That would be fine with them.
The Mets, I guess you'd say, would like to see the Cardinals open at home in the League Championship Series. There's only one way that could happen. That's if the Mets beat the Giants. They're tied 1-1, playing Game 3 today at Shea. Will Clark, the hitter, 1 for 4 in this game. Not really involved in the offense today. Chipper Jones will get perhaps his last at bat of the 2000 season, as will Galarraga. Galarraga, who may be in his final game as an Atlanta Brave, maybe in his final game as a big leaguer. That will have to be determined in the offseason.
Well, we talked about Jones and Galarraga having an impact. For Cal's going to have many more at-bats as the Atlanta Braves. He will play short or second next year and be the regular at either position. Andrew Jones, just 23. He's going to be stationed in that center field position for Atlanta for a long time. But you have to start to wonder just what Atlanta does as they prepare for the 2001 season. A lot of marquee free agents on the market.
Yeah, when you start talking free agents with the Braves, as Dave Veer starts to warm up, one guy that could become a free agent if they don't take up his option is their own John Smoltz. Will Clark called out on strikes. The inning is over. 2 strong innings there from Ashby. The Cardinals need 3 outs more, and they will have won this division. For the series are a little bit misleading. The 2 earned runs that they allowed were in the blowout on Thursday after the game was no longer an issue. Mike Timlin gave up a couple of runs when he inherited a 9-2 lead in the 8th inning. Veers to Chipper Jones. Chipper, who of course came to terms on a long contract extension during this season. He was one of those guys who appeared to be headed for free agency, but he'll now be a Brave for many years to come. This promised to be a long winter for Chipper and his teammates, and a real disappointing finish. It's as if they never recovered. I mean, you could say it's not related at all, but that 9th inning with 2 down against Colorado last Sunday, they fell apart. The Rockies scored 7 runs and beat them, and cost them their home field advantage in this series. And it's like they've never recovered since. And John Rocker, who gave it up after the Chipper Jones error last Sunday, basically was a non-entity in this series. He got in very briefly in Game 1.
Very, very tough division series for the Braves, and you're right. I think that Sunday 9th inning really had an impact on this division series.
Tom Glavine, I'm sure, was hoping at a shot coming back into Game 5. Reggie Sanders today was a fly ball that he should have caught. It went for a run. Chipper Jones down on strikes. 1 for 4 today. And for Chipper, 4 for 12 in the series, but no home runs, only 1 RBI. Now Galarraga, and with Galarraga, a poignancy to this at bat. Now at age 40, he has already said if he is not re-signed by the Braves to be brought back for next year, he will likely retire.
A tremendous comeback season for him, only to finish on a disappointing division series against St. Louis.
He has driven in the only run today for Atlanta. That was back in the 1st inning. And Galarraga, who overcame so much just to get to this season, battling for his life against cancer. And then the question was, how much would he have to offer after missing a full year after going through cancer? Well, obviously he had a lot to offer. The Braves were 24-3 this year when Galarraga hit a home run, and he started hitting home runs almost immediately, right away. He was one of the hottest home run hitters in the league in the first month of the season. Began playing professionally in 1979. And veers with the splitter outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
They just didn't know what they were going to get from Andres Galarraga. They were hopeful that he would be able to return to the form that he had in 1998 for Atlanta. But because that was so uncertain, they went out and brought in Wally Joyner, a veteran first baseman. But Galarraga answered with a .300 season, drove in 100, hit 28 homers.
And his 2000th career hit at Shea Stadium, New York this year. He named to his 5th All-Star team. That's a ball outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Mark McGwire with a home run as a pinch hitter. On Thursday, Will Clark with a huge 3-run homer against Glavine on Thursday. Galarraga hanging in there. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Fernando Vina, who has been big throughout the series, but especially big today. And Jim Edmonds rarely has anybody, especially a big star player, done what Edmonds has done in this series in postseason play.
In his first go-around in postseason play.
3-2 to the big cat.
Players dream about getting an opportunity to come up in pivotal at-bats during the course of a meaningful game in the postseason, and Jim Edmonds certainly is living out a dream in this first round of divisional play.
Galarraga, 10 home runs in April, including a grand slam against the Giants. Livan Hernandez in a game in this ballpark. Galarraga, who is a great hero in his native Venezuela. Will this end it all for him? 3-2 pitch. And he fouls it back to the screen. I mean, the Braves have to make those decisions now. And certainly sentiment could enter into it. But Galarraga will be 40 years old.
Yeah. And it's probably something that they're going to have to do. Bobby Cox has seen this club with a bunch of different star players over the years.
3-2 to Galarraga. To shortstop, Edgar Renteria throws him out. And you hear the Cardinal fans, and there are many Cardinal fans spread out throughout this ballpark today, and many in their red shirts. They're almost unmistakable. I don't think there are many other red shirts in this ballpark today, and they are getting ready to cheer a Division Series championship for the Cardinals. 1 out more, and Paul Bacco will bat here instead of Javier Lopez, who had to leave the game in the 7th inning with apparent knee problems. And that's in there for a strike.
John, the Houston Astros were picked by many to be the champs in the Central in the National League, and the Cardinals built a ball club with 15 new players. They went out and really built up the pitching staff.
And the ones who weren't picking Houston were picking Cincinnati with their new center fielder, Ken Griffey Jr. John Schuerholz, who, when it's all said and done, will have a track record to match any general manager in the history of the game. In Kansas City, then here in Atlanta. The success he's had with clubs in both cities. But here in the year 2000, Walt Jocketty has certainly got to receive the accolades for the club that he was able to put together, because the Cardinals had 3 dismal years in a row since they won a division title in '96. 1-2 the count, and Bacco fouls it away. The Cardinal fans on their feet, and we see most of them are really down behind that third base side dugout near the Cardinal dugout.
Well, they have been fine-tuning this Cardinal team all season long. Picked up years along with Darryl Kyle from Colorado.
2 down in the 9th. 1-2 the count, and the splitter ends it. And the Cardinals complete their thorough dismantling of the former National League champion Atlanta Braves. And the celebration begins. The St. Louis Cardinals utterly, thoroughly trouncing the Braves 3-0. By the end of the summer, you took the Giants, the Braves, the Mets, and I think many considered the Cardinals the least likely of those four to be a threat in the postseason.
Well, the acquisition of Jim Edmonds to give them that center fielder and the impact hitter in their lineup. Even when they lost Mark McGwire, they went out and brought in Will Clark, and he was a dramatic spark to the offense. But the pitching staff was revamped, led by Darryl Kyle in the bullpen with Deers. They later added Pat Henkin and really stretched out their rotation. And Tony La Russa was able to put this team together. And with a dramatic loss of McGwire and then Mike Matheny, they picked up Carlos Hernandez, a veteran catcher. And Jim Edmonds, in his first postseason with the St. Louis Cardinals, has delivered offensively. And they have swept the Atlanta Braves.
And the Cardinal fans, hundreds of them behind the dugout, still up and cheering. The St. Louis Cardinals, who have won it here in Atlanta by a 7-1 count over the proud Braves, outscoring them 24-10 in this series. And now the question for them is, where will they start the league championship series? On the banks of the mighty Mississippi, in their home ballpark, or on the banks of McCovey Cove? And Will Clark and Edgar Renteria head up into the clubhouse now. Jose Oquendo, the coach, J.D. Drew, Carlos Hernandez, Fernando Tatis, Tony La Russa and Jim Edmonds still out in the field. Aaron Davis, McGwire, and the trainer Weinberg. Who let those dogs out?
Well, John, you can see by the reaction of the players that they knew they were up against a very, very tough club in the Atlanta Braves. And even though it's a lopsided sweep, there is relief because they were able to get to Kevin Millwood. And it was Fernando Vina's leadoff home run and then a big 2-run single by Vina against Mike Remlinger that sparked the offense today. A balanced attack, but Tony La Russa, the manager, been through this several times, and he made a gamble. He started Rick Ankiel in game 1 against Greg Maddux, and it did have the intended effect because it let Darryl Kyle start game 2 with the Cardinals up 1-0. And Kyle delivered a great start.
Well, it sort of brought out the old phrase, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. And he was. It was a bold move, one that could have backfired and for which he would have been severely criticized. But he made the bold move, and here's the result. It's there for all to see.
Another bold move was starting Polanco at third base in place of Fernando Tatis. And in the first inning, Polanco's first at bat. He got a 2-run single off Greg Maddux to spark that 6-run first inning in the divisional series and set the tone for the Cardinals.
Yes, took out the home run hitter and went with the singles hitter. And it was Polanco's first inning single in game 1 that started what we're seeing now, the popping of the champagne corks. Jeremy Schaap down in the clubhouse.
Freaking job, man. You set the tone. Okay, we're here with Will Clark, Fernando Vina. Will. Thank you. Will, Fernando, obviously a tremendous victory. You definitely thought you could beat the Cardinals. Did you think the Braves, did you think you could sweep?
Well, I'll tell you what, we went out there and we battled, and this man right here set the tone, you know. Jimmy Edmonds is our MVP, but this man set the tone the whole series.
Fernando, the home run in the first inning, what were your thoughts as you were facing Kevin Millwood?
I just knew we had to go out and try to get things going early and score some runs because they got a great team over there, and Millwood's a great pitcher. And I just wanted to go up there and get a good pitch, and thank God I hit it out.
Will, when you came here on July 31st, did you ever imagine it could end up this good?
I tell you what, it's getting better. That's all it is. It's getting better. And When I first showed up, this is a special ball club. I said it from the start. These guys accepted me right away. And you know what? It's getting better. It's getting better. I mean, these guys are peaking at the right time. They're playing great.
How much did the home field advantage mean to you guys in this series, not having to start here at Turner Field?
It meant a lot. I mean, playing at home, our fans are the best fans around ever in the whole world, and playing at home was special for us, and it was a good way for us to get going. And thanks to Willie here, man. He brings so much to our club, and he's a gamer, man. He's been so many places, does so many things. I appreciate his leadership that he helps me with.
Will, how much has Jim Edmonds meant to your success here?
It's unbelievable. I mean, you know, Fernando sets the table, but then Jimmy mops it up, and he's our MVP. He showed it out here in this series. He came through in the clutch the whole series, and we're going to go celebrate with him a little bit.
Will, thanks a lot. Fernando, thanks very much. Back up to you, John.
All right, Jeremy. The players themselves are now chanting MVP as Edmonds enters the room. And those Cardinal fans here celebrating, even as I know thousands of Cardinal fans back in St. Louis are doing the same. Will Clark's thrilling, Mark McGuire's chilling, the Braves are weeping because the Cards are sweeping. Yeah, that pretty well sums it up.
Sure does. Will Clark revitalized here in a Cardinal uniform.
It started Edmonds in game 1 in the 4th inning with a homer. In game 2, there was that just incredible catch that was almost stupefying. And then today, in a 1-1 tie in the 3rd inning, he broke the tie with a 2-run shot into the Atlanta bullpen to make it 3-1. And Jim Edmonds 8 for 14 with Jeremy Schaap.
Division series, if there were one, clearly you would be the MVP. How gratifying is this?
Oh, it's nice. We've been working hard all year, and give me that real quick, brother.
Mike James stepping in to celebrate. I'm afraid the celebration may take longer than we. Jim, you get the champagne out of your eyes? Your first postseason, Jim, did you ever imagine it could be this good?
No, this has just been just like the rest of the year. It's been special all year long, and what a great bunch of guys. I think I keep saying it over and over. No one deserves this better than this team and the city that we play for. So I'm just happy to be a part of it, and glad that we can play good baseball in the start of the postseason.
Jim, thanks very much. Back to John.
All right, Jeremy. So congratulations to Tony La Russa and the St. Louis Cardinals. A great season and an unexpectedly great postseason thus far as they just clobber the Atlanta Braves. 7-1 the final. We will have another game for you tomorrow if the Yankees lose tonight to Oakland. We'll be back from New York tomorrow. As for now, John Miller, Alvaro Martin, and Buck Martinez. So long.